the clean, true taste of Canada, and proud sponsor of Labatt's Blue Pitch. From the Major League to neighborhood diamonds, it's the way we play. And by Expos, retailers and agents across Canada.
From Shea Stadium in New York, tonight, the middle game of the three-game series between the Montreal Expos and the New York Mets. When the Expos went into New York City in August last year for a four-game series with the Mets, they still had championship on their mind. They trailed New York by 6.5 games and promptly reduced that to 4.5 games by taking the first two of the series. Nelson Santavena's bloop single to left won Game 1, 5-2 in 12 innings. And in Game 2, the Expos turned Rex Hugler loose. He stole second, then he stole third, and came home on a wild pitch. And the Expos were on their way to a 7-4 victory. Now the Expos had to face a Sunday doubleheader on a scorching New York day, and the wheels came off. Tim Tuffle drove in Howard Johnson with a sacrifice fly in the ninth inning, as the Expos blew an earlier 3-0 lead to lose 4-0. For the Expos, Game 2 was a must, but it was not to be. They committed 3 errors. The Mets scored 2 unearned runs, and the Expos were 4-2 losers. The Expos came out of New York the way they came in, 6.5 games out. And the 2 losses were the first in a 9-game losing streak that effectively ended Expo hopes in 1988. So it's with memories of '88 that the Expos take the field tonight in Game 2 of this key 3-game series in New York. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on CTV.
American League.
New York is not new, of course, to you from the American League days. Shea Stadium is. It's still a circus, and it still requires a lot of concentration.
Without a doubt, New York is New York, whether you're over in Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium. It's the media is always focused on them every night, whether they win or lose. They're always one of the top stories, and rightly so. They've always have played very good baseball in the past, so it's always a challenge to go into New York.
You're such a focal point right now. I know it gets tiresome for you, but the Mets have gone out and obviously had to counteract the Expos deal in acquiring you from Seattle by getting Frank Viola. When you sit and watch this sort of thing go by, what goes through your head?
I was wondering when Roger Clemens is going to make his debut over in the National League. Everybody's been saying that's why the Mets did the deal. I don't know if that's why the Mets did the deal. I know they're having problems with Dwight Gooden getting him back, but you know, they picked up a guy who won the Cy Young Award last year, so you know it's going to give that club a lift. And hopefully we can keep them back to where they are.
Okay, keep them back tonight. Good luck to you tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much. Mark Langston joining us. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on CTV.
The Expos are 6-4 this year against the New York Mets as they head into this ball game. Last year lost the season series to New York. The Expos have not had a winning season against the Mets since 1982. Taking a look at the one-run games, the Expos with 21 wins, the Mets with 23 losses by a run. The Expos with the advantage on the road, and in one-run decisions on the road, the Mets have had a terrible time. Here is Ron Darling, 28-year-old right-hander, pitching tonight's game for the New York Mets. His 23rd start, he has split his last 8 decisions. He has lost his last 2 times out, including his last start over in St. Louis against the Cardinals. Here is the Expos batting order. Dave Martinez, Jeff Hewson, and Hubie Brooks. Brooks in the number 3 spot. Tim Raines hitting cleanup. Tim Wallach, number 5. Andres Galarraga's been dropped to number 6. Then Nelson Santovenia, Spike Owen, the shortstop, and Mark Langston, the pitcher, hitting in the 9th spot. Dave Martinez steps in to lead off this ball game after an 0 for 15 start. He's hit well over 300 and checks in here tonight batting at 286. So Ron Darling ready to make his first pitch of the night, and the left-handed batter Dave Martinez steps in. Mark Hirschbeck is the plate umpire to call the balls and strikes. Bob Davidson at first, Greg Bonet at second, Doug Harvey at third. First pitch of the night over, and we're underway at Shea Stadium. Dave Martinez, for his career with the Cubs and the Expos, has hit very well against the New York Mets ball club. Ball 1 and 1 strike.
Of course, Dave, born in New York City.
Right, lived here until he was 13 years old when they moved to South Florida. and came back for 6 months to give it another try, but that didn't last either, and they headed right back to South Florida. So he spent the first 13 years of his life here. Started playing organized baseball on the sandlots here. A pop-up behind the plate, and that is out of play. I mentioned Dave Martinez got off to the slow 0 for 15 start, but he's hit well over 300 since then. He is among the hottest of the Expos hitters.
I'm just playing to where the team is playing right now. You know, we're very intense now. We're in the pennant race, and I'm just trying to do the best I can for the team and go out there and play hard.
What about your hitting? The slow start, then it's come around, and you managed to maintain it. Haven't been too many real long slumps.
Well, I've just been working with Joe and just trying to hit the ball hard. My main thing right now is to get on base for the team. You know, I'm leading off, and I think that if I can go up there and make good, solid contact, that, you know, I'm going to get my base hits, and I'm going to get on base for the ball club.
This is the 33rd time now that he's hit in the leadoff spot for the club. And just to put his streak into perspective, over Dave's last 147 at-bats, he's hitting .320. A chopper for Hojo at third base. And the man at the hot corner handles that, and Dave Martinez is out.
Well, one thing that Martinez has done, remember back to spring training, he was really pulling the ball just about every at-bat. Now, hitting the ball well to all fields. That's why his batting average has been able to climb.
Jeff Hewson playing at second base. You know that Tom Foley is on the disabled list, and Jeff Hewson was called up when Spike Owen got hurt and stays on with Foley out, so it gives Buck Rogers a left-hand hitting second baseman. Hewson's been counted on since last fall as a backup middle infielder for the team. Was hitting .310 at Indianapolis in the American Association when he got called up. Now he's playing in his 18th game since the call-up. One strike on Jeff Hewson. Darling missing low and inside.
Darling with a good fastball, curve, split finger fastball that he throws, and you can see his record 8-9 this year, 4.08 ERA. That's very much unlike the Ron Darling of the last 5 years.
He clips that outside corner and gets ahead on the count, 1-2 on Hewson. In Ron Darling's last start, here's that pitch.
I think a sinking fastball that Hirschbeck decided was a strike. Now, he might be one of those umpires with the big strike zone who would favor the pitchers.
Strike three called as Ron Darling came inside, hit the corner. Jeff Hewson thought that that was a ball. So he was a little too selective there with 2 strikes.
You know, sometimes you get one of those rookie strike zones, and what I mean by that is it's very big for the players who haven't established themselves in the league. You have to go up there and swing the bat.
Got to be a hitter and not an umpire with 2 strikes.
Exactly.
Here's the pitch, and Hubie Brooks fouls it back. Buck Rogers has changed the lineup around Ken, moving Hubie up here to this number 3 spot and dropping Andres Galarraga down to the number 6 spot. And we asked Buck about the changes before the ball game.
Well, both of them have been struggling lately, so I thought that we'd move Andres down to the 6th spot and move Hubie up to the 3rd spot. And because Tim Wallach is swinging the bat better than any one of the 3, would move him into the 5th spot behind Tim Raines. So we're trying to get these guys started, and this is just a way maybe we can get them started.
Hubie Brooks just got a pitch there, but he missed it and skied it to the left fielder, Kevin McReynolds. And had Brooks gotten a little more of that ball, it might well have been deposited in the Expos bullpen, but he missed it, and that's the 3rd out of the inning. Nothing for the Expos. The Mets are coming up, and this is Labatt Expos Baseball on CTV. 28-year-old southpaw Mark Langston making his 14th Expos start. And up against this lineup posted by Davey Johnson. And he's made some changes tonight, the biggest one being the resting of Darryl Strawberry. Keith Miller in the leadoff spot, then Juan Samuel and Hojo. Kevin McReynolds moves into the cleanup spot. Tim Tuffle is getting to start the ball game at first base. Mark Carrion, the right fielder, Barry Lyons, the catcher, Kevin Elster, the shortstop, and Ron Darling, the pitcher. So Mark Langston looking for his 10th win.
Look for Langston to go with that great fastball and that slider, in particular to the Mets and those big right-handed hitters like Howard Johnson and Kevin McReynolds, trying to keep that breaking ball low and inside.
His first pitch of the night, and Miller pops it up behind the plate. Nelson Santovania back there found the ball, then tossed the mask away, made the catch, and Miller is out. First ball hitting.
Appeared that Miller came from home today looking for a fastball on the first pitch. He got it. He got underneath it, and as Dave said, you notice how Santovania held on to the mask till he located the ball. If you drop your mask too quickly, you stand the risk of stepping on it and spraining an ankle or worse.
Nelson Santovania behind the plate for Mark Langston's ball game. Here is Juan Samuel down into the number 2 spot in the order, and he's really responded with the bat. Samuel's gone 10 for 19 since moving into the second spot. Overall, he's hitting .261, 10 home runs, 32 RBIs. Langston working, and the count is 0-2 on Samuel. Mark Langston beat John Smiley and the Pirates his last time out. That's how the Expos stack up defensively around Mark. Off the end of the bat and a foul ball, and 2 strikes on Samuel with Howard Johnson in the on-deck circle. When Mark went up against the Bucks, he had had a streak of 18 consecutive shutout innings snapped in the second inning. It was his 3rd straight win, 2 of those complete games. Missed outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes to Juan Samuel. Mark has won 7 of his last 8 decisions over 8 starts. There you get an idea of what it's like here tonight. Not only is it well over 80 degrees, but the humidity is as high. Here's a bouncer to the left side. Wallach throws Samuel out. 2 down in the New York first. And Howard Johnson, the batter. Now, he is hitting .439 against the Expos with 5 home runs. So how in the world do the Expos go about trying to retire Howard Johnson? We asked pitching coach Larry Bernard.
Well, he's been torrid against us, and basically we've been making too many mistakes out over the plate against him. We've been trying to get ahead of him with breaking stuff, and we haven't. He's been taking them for balls. He waits till he gets the advantage in the count, and to his credit, he hasn't missed 1 cripple pitch that we've thrown him yet. I think what we're going to have to do is pitch him inside a little bit more, and if we can get our off-speed breaking pitches over, change-ups over the plate on him, we can probably get him out a little better with the inside fastball.
Well, Mark was going to start him off with the slow curve.
Slow curve, but he missed with it. Sometimes it takes Langston a little while to get that curveball working, that slow hook. He has a lot better control with that fastball and hard slider. But as you heard Larry Bernard say, they're going to try and throw him the slow stuff and then come inside with the hard fastballs and sliders.
Overall, Hojo's hitting .296, 27 homers, second in the league behind Kevin Mitchell's 34. He tried to check and went around, according to the first base umpire, Bob Davidson. Third in the league in RBIs with 70.
Well, the crowd booed, but I believe there was no doubt about the fact that he came around a little too far.
Two outs, nobody on. Langston working the 1-1 to Johnson. Did he go? It's there for a called strike. Doesn't matter. Howard Johnson has really been hitting the ball hard. 14 of his last 19 games with hits have been multiple hit ball games. So he's having another one of those years producing big numbers.
Just 3 home runs shy of the 30-30 club.
2 balls and 2 strikes. He's already got 31 stolen bases, and he has 27 home runs.
Remember in Pittsburgh, Langston said it took him a while to get used to the mound. Now, this is his first start ever at Shea Stadium, and each time around the league when he appears in the stadium for the first time, he has to get acclimated to the conditions out on the mound.
Howard Johnson goes down on strikes. Mark Langston with his first strikeout of the night and his 108th of the season for the Expos, and the Mets go in order. This is Labatt, Expos baseball on CTV.
Well, the Chicago Cubs keep the pressure on. 3 runs with 2 out in the 9th inning, and they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-2. Wilson the winner over Landrum. Another save for Lancaster there, and the San Francisco Giants hammer Houston 7-0. A very important game. They also got to Mike Scott in that game. So the Giants keeping control of the National League West. 3 games now in front of Houston. Meanwhile, the Cubs pulled to within a half game of the Expos pending tonight. Dave?
It's the first pitch, a line drive into right center. He's got that ball in the gap, and he's got third base in mind. Rounding second, headed for third, and there'll be no play on Raines at third base. Tim Raines with a triple, his 6th of the season, into the gap in right center on Ron Darling's first pitch of the 2nd inning.
Well, I was about to say that Tim Raines, now batting 4th in the lineup, leading off here in the top half of the 2nd. It shows that he remembers what he used to do, leading off ball games in the 1st. And once this ball reached the warning track, and Raines about right now is rounding 2nd, and there's no play at 3rd. A stand-up triple to lead off the 2nd inning.
Tim Raines at third base, and Tim Wallach the batter, hitting .285, 8 homers, 54 RBIs, and he hits a shot toward right center. Samwell is there. Raines will tag. He'll come on to score with 2 pitches. The Expos open the scoring. They lead 1-0.
Tim Raines igniting the Expos here in the 2nd inning. And Tim Wallach, both of those balls were hit very hard.
Wallach gets his 55th RBI. The Cat comes to hit. 2nd time this year that he's batted 6th in the order. First time was back on the 5th of June. Ball 1 to Galarraga.
I think one thing that manager Buck Rogers has done by switching Galarraga to the 6th spot, if Expo fans can remember in Pittsburgh, Tim Wallach batting in the 6th slot was passed a couple of times intentionally. Now Wallach is probably the hottest of all the Expos hitters. Buck Rogers affords him a little protection in the lineup by having Galarraga hit behind him. They might be a little bit more hesitant to walk Wallach in key situations with Galarraga up next.
The Cat at .253 for the year, but .333 against the New York Mets. 2-1 pitch. Missed inside, and it's 3 balls and a strike to Galarraga. That count, 3-1, a pretty good challenge for a hitter who is slumping, because this is the kind of situation that you figure he's going to get a pitch to handle. Takes that for a strike.
Pitch over the outer half. Now he had the option of swinging or not. If he really got something, it appears that Gala's looking for something on the inner half that he can pull, and he takes the fastball on the outside corner, just like he should have.
Fouled that one back, and the count is 3-2.
Sometimes when a hitter drop down in the lineup, that gives him a little more incentive to concentrate. Ball 4.
Well, Galarraga showing some patience there, which has been one of the things that has hurt him. He has not been a patient hitter.
4 for his last 29, and sometimes you get in these streaks where you swing at everything, and a walk is a good sign.
Nelson Santabania, the batter. Hit a home run early this season off R.J. Ron Darling. Santo, 5 home runs on the season, 23 RBIs. 1 out, so the Met infield is playing this at double play depth. Tuffle holding the runner Galarraga. Elster and Miller playing at short and second base. Howard Johnson back and off the line at third base. Fouled away, out of play to the right.
Well, Ron Darling with a record of 8-9 coming into today's game. Well, 5 years in a row, he's had wins in double digits and losses in single digits. So this is the pressure's on him to stay out of double figures in losses. I don't believe he'll be able to do it for the rest of the season. But 5 years in a row, the record is 6 years in a row. We go to Hall of Famer Whitey Ford, who did his pitching for the Yankees over in the Bronx. 6 years in a row, wins in double figures and losses in single digits.
Ron Darling has only won 2 of his last 6 starts, losing the other 4. His last win July 21st at Atlanta. In the air down the right field line, a long run for Carry-On and to foul territory and out of his reach. Mark Carry-On playing in right field with Darryl Strawberry sitting down. On this Saturday night, as you can see, a big crowd at Shea Stadium. The last 2 years, 87 and 88, they have drawn over 3 million fans.
No, New York, I can recall Yankee Stadium playing here at Shea as not only a home player but as a visitor. These fans can ride you pretty good here in Queens, New York. Keith Miller catches a pop-up off of Santavena's bat, and the first Expos retired here in the 2nd inning.
That'll bring Spike Owen to the plate. Spike hitting at .242, has hit 5 home runs, 30 RBIs.
David, as bad as the Expo players might think that the fans here at New York is riding the visiting players, there's no such thing as bad until you go to Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
Well, Mark Langston has had that experience. So has Spike Owen.
I think that's where the expression the Bronx cheer came in.
2 outs. Galarraga at first. And Spike takes low, ball 1. Switch hitting shortstop, who batted .300 against the New York Mets in the 1986 World Series. Spike was out with a severely sprained ankle, missed 14 games. Got the cap and the helmet stacked.
You know, I think that's one thing the Expo players, when Spike came to the ball club, is we see Gary Carter, the kid, trying to recover from a knee injury. He has been activated, but he's been playing very sparingly since his return.
Galarraga rather running. And the ball is dropped behind the plate by Barry Lyons, and a stolen base for Galarraga, his 9th.
Saying about Spike Owen as we take a look at the play by Spike. Now, I don't know whether turning that bat around and holding in front of Lyons threw him off a bit, but he didn't catch the ball, and Galarraga is safe down at second base. Getting back to Spike Owen. The fact that Spike has been to the World Series and been through the pressures of a pennant race, I think that's one reason why a lot of Expo players look up to Spike, and some of the leadership that he has shown is rubbed off on some of the other players.
Ron Darling behind 2-0, and Spike takes a strike. So the count is 2 balls and a strike. You were seeing that picture of Gary Carter a moment ago. Mark Langston is in the on-deck circle. Gary right now is number 3 on the depth chart among the New York catchers. And he told me before the ball game that he came back too soon. He was not ready, but he did come back. Got hurt playing catch in the outfield in Chicago. Got hit in the back by a line drive during batting practice. There's a ground ball right side. Bobbled by Miller. Here comes Galarraga. The play at the plate. He scores down at second base. Throw is high. Spike safe. And the Expos lead 2-0. And the ball got as hot as an August night for the New York Mets. It's an error on the second baseman Miller. Spike gets second on the throw to the plate.
Ron Darling not getting much support on this particular play. Now Miller appeared, he didn't follow the ball into his glove. Jackie Moore heads up, sends Galarraga all the way. He scores. And Spike Owen equally is heads up. All the way to second.
The Expos lead 2-0, scoring an unearned run. Mark Langston, a 200 hitter, has 8 hits in 40 at-bats. Ron Darling behind early. So the Expos, who got behind early last night, come out tonight and try to turn it around here. Howard Johnson with the play, and he almost waited too long to unload that throw. Mark Langston is out, and the side is retired. But at the end of an inning and a half, the Expos have a 2-0 lead. You're watching Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
Well, the Toronto Blue Jays continue to have their problems at home. Their record is 26-29 this season. Now they play in the Sky Dome, of course. Yankees beat them 5-4. Hawkins, his 13th victory of the year over Ward, Phelps, Witt, Mosby with home runs in that game. And in the Cleveland-Boston game at Fenway Park, 10-2 Boston. Smithson over Farrell, Heap, Reed, and Boggs with his 3rd homer of the year for the Red Sox. The East Division standings then, as the Blue Jays, as we mentioned, having their problems. Their record now is 54-56, and 2.5 games behind the Baltimore Orioles, who, of course, play tonight. All right, Kenny, you've had a lot to say about that American League East Division race. I didn't say much about Baltimore at the beginning of the year. What do you think now?
Well, the Orioles seem to have a pitching staff. They can't get many starters to go beyond the 4th or 5th inning. That seems to be their problem right now. If I had to pick a team that I felt was going to win, I'll go back to the team that I picked at the beginning of the year, the Milwaukee Brewers.
They've certainly made up a lot of ground.
The whole division did all of a sudden.
Orioles dropping 14 of 16, letting everybody right back in the front door. Kevin McReynolds, a cleanup hitter for the Mets. Expos lead 2-0, and McReynolds takes ball 1. He'll be followed by Tupple and Carrion. Now consider this. Mickey Tettleton is going to undergo arthroscopic surgery on his left knee to repair torn lateral cartilage. And so the Orioles have signed veteran free agent Jamie Quirk. He's going to report to Baltimore tomorrow. That's a severe setback for the Orioles. Tettleton's going to be out at least 3 weeks, and it won't be known how much longer after that 3-week period until after the surgery is performed. Pitch is low. The Oriole catcher is 4th in the American League in home runs, 22, and 67 runs scored. And they're turning to the 34-year-old Jamie Quirk. He had played in 22 games earlier this season with the Yankees. McReynolds swinging, missing, and the count is even at 2-2.
Tim Tupple in the on-deck circle.
Speaking of catchers that are hurt, just to complete the thought on Gary Carter, I mentioned he got drilled in the back end by a line drive during BP in Chicago. That hampered his throwing abilities, according to Gary. It bothered his shoulder. The knee, which had the arthroscopic surgery, his right knee, is not 100%. A drive deep down the left field line. If it's fair, and it is, it's a home run, and the New York Mets are on the scoreboard. A 2-1 game. Number 11 for Kevin McReynolds.
McReynolds picks on an inside pitch. It seemed to be a slider that Langston did not get down. And the Mets lead the National League in home runs. This is their 99th home run of the season.
That makes it a 2-1 game with Tim Tupple up, batting at .260, playing at first base. They've been playing the left-handed hitter, Dave Magadan, against the right-handers. Tupple gets the start against Langston. Skies one down the right side, back into the seats. You know, something else that Gary Carter told me, Ken, he said the handwriting is on the wall. They will not have me back. This will be my last year with the New York Mets. He said, I just hope I get a chance to play a little bit between now and the end of the season to show other teams that I can still play. I think Gary also has to prove that to himself, don't you?
Prove that to himself. First of all, he has to get that knee healthy.
It's not right
to even think about catching.
1 ball and 1 strike, the count on Tupple. And I don't mean to imply that there was any problem with the surgery. The surgery went according to plan, and everything that needed to be done in that knee was done. What has not gone right is that Carter needed more time off than what he got. As a matter of fact, one of the Met doctors told him that if he were a young player in his 20s, following the knee surgery that Gary had, the doctor would have recommended to Carter and the club that he not play the rest of the year.
But he's caught in a situation where he has to show some ability either to the Mets or another ball club.
Right. Here's the 1-2 to Tuffle, and he didn't chase it. It's in the dirt, and 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That particular pitch is one that Langston picks up a lot of strikeouts on. The slider down and the dirt. Looks like a fastball. The hitters, right-hand hitters in particular, start their bats before you know it's in the dirt. But it's also up to Nelson Santabenia to come up with that pitch after a hitter swings. And that's easier said than done.
Now 3-2 on Tuffle. Buck Rogers up against Davy Johnson. Johnson in his 6th year managing the Mets. Buck in his 5th year with the Expos. Tuffle draws a walk. They're not strangers to one another. Tuffle and Langston faced each other in the American League.
Now, last night, Bryn Smith made an interesting comment, at least a couple of nights ago he did. He said that one thing you have to do here in New York is keep the crowd out of the ball game. Shut the Mets down early, let your team get in front. Well, so far, the Expos are in the lead in this ball game, but the crowd is starting to get into it with the home run from McReynolds and the walk to Tuffle. And that crowd can cause the Mets to get a little momentum going, as it did in last night's 1st inning.
Nobody out. Carry-on playing in right field. Takes the slow curve for a strike. Carry-on hitting at .281. In his last 13 games has picked up 9 hits in 23 at-bats. So he's swinging a hot bat. And one of the reasons Strawberry is sitting down, it's a night game before a day game. Carry-on needs some at-bats to stay sharp, and Mark Langston is on the mound. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The manager likes to pick his spots, resting the big hitters. Sam Palazzo, the third base coach, flashing the signs. Buck Rogers occasionally gives Andres Galarraga or Yuli Brooks a night off against a tough right-hander. The same thing goes for Davy Johnson and Darryl Strawberry against a very nasty left-hander.
A throw to first, and Galarraga thought they might have had Tuffle. Close play.
You have to have a strong arm to do something like this. This is all arm. Langston didn't use much of his body at all, and Tuffle just gets that right hand in there ahead of the tag. That little step-off move, and he just fires it over.
Langston again throws to first. Tuffle got back safely.
So Langston with a variety of moves to first base to help keep the runners close. And by showing those moves early in the ball game, it's almost like a warning shot to all the Mets sitting in the dugout if they reach first base.
Breaking ball over, and the count is 1-2 on Carry-on. Davy Johnson was probably hoping for an advantageous count because Carry-on is hot, and I'll bet he wanted to start Tuffle up and turn Carry-on loose with the bat and try to keep this inning going and really get something big started. But now Mark's gotten ahead on the count.
1-2 is not the type of count that you send runners and hope the hitter's going to protect him.
A line drive right side foul off the end of the bat. Here's another note concerning Mitch Williams, Ken, the Chicago Cubs relief pitcher. He was hit in the head by a line drive off the bat of Jeff King in the 9th inning of today's game at Pittsburgh. Williams was taken out of the game, examined by team doctors. He's diagnosed as having a contusion over his left eye, available now on a day-to-day basis. So a scare for Mitch Williams. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Carry-on.
The Cubs can ill afford to lose him over a period of time, maybe a couple of days or so, but if you keep him out for a week or 2 weeks, it might show up in the standings.
Carry-on swings a ball to left. That's a base hit. So Mark Langston's got a problem here. A home run ball by Kevin McReynolds, a walk to Tupple, and now a base hit by Carrion.
The home run was on a hanging slider, and that base hit appeared to be on another hanging breaking ball. What I mean by hanging, it doesn't break quite as sharp, and it's towards the middle of the plate. Instead of coming in and breaking sharply, it merely loops over the plate so the hitters can really lay into it.
Two to one Expos. Bottom of the second. 2 Mets on, nobody out. Barry Lyons, the catcher, bunts the ball first base side. Langston fielding and throwing to Galarraga. The Met catcher sacrificing to move the runners along for Kevin Elster, the shortstop. And Ron Darling, the pitcher, comes to the on-deck circle.
Now it'll be interesting to see what the Expos do in this spot. Elster has been swinging a very hot bat. The pitcher is on deck. And it appears right now they have the infield back. Elster has hit in 16 of his last 17 ball games. And his average has climbed considerably to almost 240.
Right, in those 17 games, he's hit .389. That was after doing a little complaining, too, because Davey Johnson had put him on the bench.
He felt that if the team wanted to win, he had to be there on an everyday basis. Of course, an excellent fielder at short, but his hitting has always been suspect. But the last 2 weeks or so, he's really picked up the pace with the bat, and it's helped out the Mets in the bottom of their order.
He's homered now in 2 straight games, hit one here last night. Kevin Elster, the Mets shortstop. Gets under one here and skies it. The catcher, Nelson Santillana's found it behind the plate, and that's all for Kevin Elster. 2 down. That's a very big out to retire the number 8 hitter and bring the pitcher to the plate, but Mark Langston cannot relax with Ron Darling.
Darling swings the bat very well, has 2 home runs to his credit this year, but Langston and the Expos decided to go right after Elster, feeling that he could retire him. Got him to pop up on a breaking ball. So Buck Rogers deciding, let's go and try and get this guy out, and then we'll go to the pitcher and get out of the inning.
Darling's got 7 hits, including 2 home runs, and he became the first Met pitcher since Seaver in '72 to hit homers in successive starts. Doesn't get this one. He hit a solo home run in the 4th inning, June 24th, off Floyd Yeomans and the Phillies. In his next start, he hit a 3-run home run off Norm Charlton and the Cincinnati Reds. And, of course, the last Met pitcher to do that was Seaver in 1972. Breaking ball over, and the count is 0-2 on Ron Darling. By the way, the Met club record for home runs in a season by a pitcher is 3. Seaver hit 3 in 1972. Walt Terrell hit 3 in 1983.
2 straight fastballs over that outside corner by Langston, continuing his aggressive style and retiring Elster, and now working on Darling.
Ron Darling pops it up to the seats behind first base. Still 0-2. A hot, humid night at Shea Stadium in New York. McReynolds with a leadoff home run, then a walk and a single. And now Langston facing Ron Darling 0-2 and a chance to shut down the inning. Ball 1. Mark Langston threw 9 pitches in the first inning. He's thrown 25 pitches now in this second inning. So if he wasn't loose after the first inning, he is now. That's all for Ron Darling. Second strikeout of the night for Mark Langston, and the Mets are through. At the end of 2, a 2-1 Expos lead. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on CTV.
This week in Expos history, 7 years ago yesterday, Joel Youngblood at Wrigley Field wore a New York Mets uniform in an afternoon contest against the Cubs. In that game, he went 1 for 2. He also drove in 2 runs. But Joel was ticketed for a trade and jetted to Philadelphia. And that night, he arrived at Veterans Stadium in time to play against the Phillies in a Montreal Expos uniform. Thusly, Youngblood became the first player in history to collect hits for 2 different ball clubs in 2 different cities in one day.
The much-traveled Joel Youngblood's got a great suitcase collection. Some people collect baseball cards. Joel's collected baseball suitcases.
Now with the Cincinnati Reds.
Dave Martinez, the Expos leadoff batter, bounced out to Howard Johnson in the first inning. Leading off this 3rd inning, the Expos lead the Mets 2-1. Ron Darling for the Mets tonight. Strike 1 on Dave Martinez. Ron Darling is 8-7 lifetime against the Expos. He lost to the Expos in his first start of the season at Olympic Stadium back in April. We've been looking for Juan Samuel all night. I'm glad we found him, and here's the 1-1 pitch. A called strike, and Darling is ahead 1-2.
Juan Samuel in medium center field.
Straightaway, if you drew a line right out there, he is straddling the line to straightaway center. Martinez hits a liner back to Ron Darling. And that's all for David. Fans, the Labatt player of the game for the Expos will receive something new under the sun. Canna's new Prima Shot, the world's first automatic camera with detachable infrared remote control. Now the invisible picture taker can be in the picture with Canon's new Prima Shot. One out, none on. Jeff Hewson up, called out on strikes in the first. Breaking ball missed low and in, and ball 1. Tom Foley played some long toss today. Had the splint off that right forefinger, which has a broken bone in the tip. Said he was not able to put any pressure on the forefinger to throw the baseball, but he was able to play long toss using his middle finger as the pressure finger. And he also said that it hurts if he puts any pressure on the forefinger, but the doctors had told him to expect that there would be discomfort, but no damage. So his rehabilitation continues. Samuel waiting under this. Hewson is out, 2 down in the 3rd. Juan Samuel, who came up as a second baseman, learning to play the outfield in the big leagues.
Well, Samuel told me before the game, occasionally he still does take some ground balls at second base. Not very often. Manager Davey Johnson has told him, just in case I have to make a double switch sometime during the ball game, be alive. You might be at second base, but for now, he's a good athlete, and he should be able to learn the position of center field. Excellent speed. He said occasionally he takes that false step backwards. I said all outfielders do that.
Now they've got an interesting situation at second as we watch Brooks take a strike. The former Met, over in the Gary Carter trade, flied out to left field in the first inning. Hubie's trying to get untracked. Line drive, base hit to right. Hit number 2 for the Expos. Ken, have you seen signs in the last few days of Hubie coming alive with that bat?
Well, the move tonight by Buck Rogers to put Hubie in the 3rd slot puts him ahead of Tim Raines and Wallach. He might get some better pitches to hit, get some more fastball. So he's put at the top of the big 4. Galarraga has gone down to the bottom of the big 4. So it might help Hubie out a little bit. Remains to be seen, of course.
Here comes Tim Raines, the Rock. As in steady as. He has been in an RBI slump. Continues to hit. Maintains that average close to the 300 mark. Has stayed in the top 10 for quite a while now in the National League. But he and Galarraga and Brooks have all been in an RBI slump. And the top of the order and the bottom of the Expos order has been called upon to produce some runs and keep the team alive while 3 of the big 4 are slumping. There goes Brooks. Raines hits a chopper near second. Short hop by Elster. Thrown to first in time. He almost made a bad throw to first base. The Expos strand Brooks midway in the 3rd. They lead 2-1. This is Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
Well, here's our trivia quiz for today. Who holds the Mets record for consecutive games with at least 1 hit? Got a couple of clues for you. It happened in 1984. Clue number 2, it ran 24 games. And clue number 3, he's in uniform tonight. Who holds the Mets record for consecutive games with at least 1 hit? A 24-game hitting streak, and he's in the lineup here tonight. Dave?
Let's take a look at that final out. Tim Raines chopping one over the middle to Kevin Elster, who makes a good play. On the other end, first baseman Tim Tuffle had actually made his move too soon. Now, the throw was a little wide, but he thought the ball would be thrown a little bit harder, and Elster threw him a changeup. At first base, you're taught to lay back until you see where the ball is going. Then you stretch for it.
Keith Miller in the top of the Met batting order. Miller, Samuel, and Johnson. A week ago, Miller was at Tidewater playing center field.
Now he's getting a chance here at Shea to play a little bit of second base. Manager Davey Johnson maybe getting a little impatient with rookie Greg Jeffries.
Jeffries is 2 for 23 and on the pine, as they say. I'll bet you Jeffries and Miller really get excited when Samuel comes in to play second during BP.
Miller made his debut versus the Expos in 1987, June 16th. He got his first major league hit off Bob Sebra, as we see Juan Samuel loosening up in the on-deck circle. That didn't miss by much.
We found out how tough a player he is, too, because he dislocated a finger sliding in at third base at Olympic Stadium, continued to play with the dislocated finger in the field and at the plate. That'll be into the seats.
Well, those breaking balls by Langston set up that fastball. Miller a little bit late, fouling it off. Slow hook, and then the heat. That's what makes Langston so difficult to hit. The league hitting just .202 against him. Change of speeds to go with that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Ooh, he thought he had that one.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Keith Miller. Miller.
It's 2 very close pitches this at bat.
Miller skies one with a late start in center. Martinez still has plenty of time to get there.
David, I think it's that time of night here at Shea Stadium. The lights have not taken full effect. Dusk, balls hit to the outfield. Sometimes the fielders have trouble seeing them. As you take a look at the conditions here at Shea Stadium, 7:59 Eastern time. See just about a full house here at the Big Shea.
What do you remember most about your first game in this ballpark, 1970? Ball 1 to Samuel.
I think it was against the Pittsburgh Pirates, if I'm not mistaken. I think I went 0 for 4. I don't remember that far back.
Bouncer handled by Owen. Good play. Samuel is out. That's the kind of play on the grass and dirt and on the carpet that Owen has made consistently.
Langston had a shot at it. Spike Owen backing him up through the middle. I'll tell you one thing. Once Spike gets his hands on it, he always seems to make an accurate throw. Now, it's a matter if he gets to it or not, and when he does, he's very rarely off target with the throw. See him turn his body, line up to where he wants to throw the ball, take that step, very patient, and makes the play time and time again.
2 outs in the New York 3rd. The Expos lead 2-1, and Howard Johnson is up. Langston struck him out in his first at-bat. Ball 1 to Hojo. Howard Johnson and Darryl Strawberry in the 30-30 club in 1988. That's outstanding production against the Expos, something they're trying to change tonight. Hojo pops one foul out of play to the left side. We heard Larry Bernard talking about it earlier. This is the kind of mistake pitch that Hojo has jumped all over all year against the Expos.
Well, Howard Johnson, known to be a great fastball hitter, but when you throw him 2 changeups in a row, this was the second one. You better get the second one in a good spot. Belt high over the plate. And that's what happens when Howard Johnson has been hitting well all year long.
And here he is tonight. A 1-ball, 1-strike count, 2 outs in the 3rd.
And for Expo fans that feel maybe he's not hitting as well right-handed, well, he's hitting almost about the same. 297 left-handed, 296 right-handed.
Howard Johnson with another hit. That's hit number 3 for the New York Mets, and it keeps the 3rd alive and brings Kevin McReynolds to the plate. He homered in the 2nd inning. McReynolds is now 4 for 5 against Mark Langston. What does he know that the rest of the league doesn't know?
Well, he got a pretty good pitch to hit that last time, a breaking ball. They picked off Howard Johnson.
So Hojo comes up red-faced. Behind that beard, Mark Langston picks him off. At the end of 3, the Expos lead New York 2-1. This is Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
Well, here's Mets manager Davey Johnson on the continuous turmoil in New York. He says you learn not to worry about it. There's bound to be more turmoil in New York because there are more writers to stir it up and to search it out. I think Dave and Ken, that when you, as Tim Wallach takes a pitch outside, you have to compare the 2 teams, that is the Mets and the New York teams, to perhaps hockey in Montreal, where again you get that constant turmoil surrounding the teams. Dave?
Well, here you get constant competition for coverage on the sports pages. And it seems like every time that the New York Mets make any kind of a move or a big headline, the boss is not far behind. So after the Frank Viola acquisition by the Mets, taking over the sports pages, the boss and Dallas Green, his manager, get into it.
There is quite a bit of competition between the Yankees and the Mets for the baseball dollars here in New York, and you can see some of the quotes from George Steinbrenner. And of course, a lot of the fans upset about this in New York. They feel that Dallas Green is doing a fine job with the Yankees despite having the lack of a solid pitching staff, and to have them this close is quite a tribute to his managing and his coaching staff this season.
Tim Wallach leading off the 4th inning for the Expos, delivered the first run with a sacrifice fly in the 2nd that cashed in a Tim Raines triple. That's all for Wallach. Strikeout number 2 for Ron Darling, who got Jeff Hewson looking in the 1st inning.
After successive pitches to the outer half of the plate, comes inside and maybe a little too inside, but home plate umpire Mike Hirschbeck rings up Tim Wallach. It's a good pitch by Ron Darling.
He walked Galarraga his first time up, and then the Expos used their base running abilities to produce a run because Galarraga walked, stole second, and with 2 outs when Owen hit the ground ball to Miller that Miller booted, Galarraga scored. Jackie Moore had him coming all the way from second, and Owen alertly took second base. 2 strikes on Galarraga.
Buck Rogers would dearly love to see the Cat shake this slump, which has seen him go 4 for 29. You know, anything can set a hitter free. A broken bat single, a drive in a run. Doesn't necessarily have to be a long home run, although the Big Cat's been known to ring a few out.
There's a shot up the middle. That might be the kind of hit you're talking about.
So far tonight, he's walked, stolen a base, and now has a single to center field. Maybe just the fact that he's been dropped down to the 6th spot in the order might wake him up.
The catcher, Nelson Sanovania.
Ron Darling, the only one who had a shot at that ground ball. Once he doesn't get it, it's quickly into center field, and Juan Samuel will be the next Met to touch it.
Galarraga at first with Santovania batting. Santovania popped up to second in the second. Swing and a miss, strike one. Wanted to mention before we turn our attention to Nelson Santovania, Galarraga hitting just over 250, and for the past 2 years has hit over 300. One strike on Nelson Santovania. Had a big series in Pittsburgh. 1-1. Buck Rogers was quick to remind some members of the press corps that Nelson Santovania has just over 1 full year in the major leagues. So even though Nelly is 28 years old, he's got just over a year in the big leagues.
So in other words, Bucks has the feeling that Santovania is just going to improve as time goes along.
Lions with a flip throw to first, but Galarraga is back, and the count goes to 1-2 on Santovania. The Expos catchers, Nelson Santovania and Mike Fitzgerald, have combined for very good production, and they've driven in more runs than any catching tandem in the National League. Santovania has 23 RBIs. Mike Fitzgerald has 29 RBIs. Santo catches 3 out of 5 in the rotation. Here's a pop up to short. Elster's got this. 2 down. Well, twice now Santovania has popped it up. That'll bring Spike Owen to the plate.
Spike Owen.
Darling uses his fork ball as a changeup, and he has Santovania out in front during that whole at bat, and the results was a weak pop up the shortstop.
Expos trainer Ron McLean checking with some of the players, making sure everybody's okay. Lots of ice in the dugout on a night like tonight, huh?
One thing that we should be thankful for, the airplanes are not flying overhead tonight, one after the other here at Shea Stadium, nearby LaGuardia Field Airport.
They're taking off the other way. Two outs. Ball one and no strikes.
Go back to the second inning when Galarraga stole second. That turned out to be a big play because he scored on the error from second base. Now with 2 outs, this might be another opportunity for Galarraga to take off. Remember, Spike Owen's the 8th hitter, and even if Galarraga is thrown out, you have Spike leading off the 5th inning rather than having your pitcher Mark Langston leading off.
Spike, when he got back into the lineup and off the disabled list over in Pittsburgh, after playing 2 straight games, I talked to him in the clubhouse, and in that Texas drawl of his, he said, I've got to rework my sleeping habits. I said, what's the matter? He said, I've been so excited about getting back in the lineup and playing. He said, I haven't been able to get to sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. He said, I can't get calmed down after the ball games. I think he's got it under control now. Here's the 2-0. In center field, Samuel is there. That's all for the Expos as they strand Galarraga. Midway in the 4th inning, 2-1 Montreal. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on CTV.
The perfect setting for a blood-curdling tale of Gothic horror. Join David Copperfield for Secret of the Phantom of the Opera, August 13th on CTV.
Well, these past 6 months have been very busy ones for the New York Mets as this team has completely turned around. The Mets obtained the 1988 American League Cy Young Award winner from the Minnesota Twins at the trading deadline late Monday night. 4 pitchers, Rick Aguilera and David West. There's Aguilera on the mound. And also 3 players which were to be named later. They later announced that Kevin Tapani and Tim Drummond had been named as part of that deal. And here's Mookie Wilson. He was also sent out to the Toronto Blue Jays to complete the Monday trade for pitchers Jeff Musselman and Mike Brady. Only 10 players left from the 1986 World Champion Mets. 14 have gone, and you have to wonder about the future of both Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter. So it could be by the beginning of next year that only 8 or fewer from 1986 will be left on as part of this ball club. So here's a team that's in transition as it's in contention. At least they like to think here in New York that they're in contention. Dave?
Okay, Ron, Kevin McReynolds homered his first time up. He was at the plate when Mark Langston picked Howard Johnson off first base in the 3rd inning. So McReynolds is the leadoff batter here in the bottom of the 4th. The Expos leading 2-1. That was Langston's 6th pickoff, Ken.
That quick step-off move. Not much body movement, just whips the ball over there and using mostly arm and shoulder. Catches base runner after base runner flat-footed.
Langston looking for his 9th Expos win, and this his 14th start. Fouled back out of play. Mark had made 10 starts at Seattle, was 4-5. Had 1 shutout there. He has pitched 3 shutouts in the National League so far. St. Louis, Atlanta, and Philly. Leading this game 2-1 in the 4th. 2-2.
McReynolds led the National League in RBIs during the second half of last year with 52. And this year he's not having that type of season. To be honest about it, he's 11th home run, 56 RBIs at this point of the season. That's well off his last year's pace.
When McReynolds led off that second with a home run, that became a problem inning for Mark Langston, but he pitched out of it. Fouled back just to our right and into the booth. That was a knockdown pitch.
I'm all right. Let's get up.
You all right? You just got to get it up. There we go. All right. McReynolds draws a walk. That's the first time you've been knocked out in a long time.
Whoa, that was close. I was going to catch it, but then I decided it was coming too hard, so I let it go.
That was a good decision because that was a nasty foul ball.
And it also says William D. White. They've got the new balls in finally.
We sure got a close enough look at that. I'm glad you opted not to try to catch it.
I was going to, and I was thinking of my golf game and my fingers.
Wise decision. Tuffle up. He walked after the McReynolds home run in the 2nd. Mark has now issued 2 walks in this game. Another close play at first base.
Play made even closer by the fact that McReynolds did not slide. Just got that left foot in there.
McReynolds leading off first base. Langston working to Tuffle. Ball 1 and no strikes. Tuffle had been on the disabled list earlier this year with a sprained ankle. Sprained his ankle jogging in Chicago.
Jogging through the streets of Chicago, not at the ballpark.
Two and 0 the count. Nelson Santovania to try to get Mark Langston through this inning. It has looked as though Santovania and Langston really work well together, Ken, because we've seen Mark go out there on a given night without his good stuff and really pitch a good ball game. So you know that for a pitcher to do that, he's got to be getting along well with his catcher, and they seem to work well together.
Well, the catcher has to know what is working. He tries to keep him ahead of the batters, maybe with just 2 or 3 pitches.
Santovania's throw is blocked by the second baseman Houston. And McReynolds has a stolen base. That's his 12th of the year.
Good pitch to go on, an off-speed pitch, which was called a strike to Tuffle. McReynolds taking a glance to see if the hitter hits the ball, and he's in safely. There's the jump. The changeup, the throw is in the dirt. Santovania knew he had to hustle it down there, getting an off-speed pitch.
The tying run is in scoring position on a walk and a steal, and the count 2-1 on Tuffle, who backs out. Two strikes on Tuffle, who played for the Twins in '83, '84, and '85. '84 was Mark Langston's rookie year. He won 17 games as a rookie with Seattle. That was also Dwight Gooden's rookie year, and it marked the first time that rookies led the American League and the National League in strikeouts since 1955. 2-2 on Tuffle, make it 3-2, a full count. Mark Carrion on deck.
Well, Langston pitching carefully with a runner in scoring position. Not had much control with his fastball this particular inning. He's been high with it.
3-2 pitch. Missed inside. Tuffle with a walk, back-to-back. Base on balls issued by Mark Langston. Santovania goes out to talk to him. And Mark Carrion, who singled to left in the second, comes to the plate. That's another one of the amazing statistics that belongs to Mark Langston. With runners in scoring position since joining the Expos, 179. Take away his first start in San Diego, and it's 167.
Go back to that night in Philadelphia when he had the bases loaded, nobody out, and then struck out the side. That shows you the type of guts he has out on the mound.
Carrion ready again, but fouled it back. Joe Sparks and Buck Rogers. Wallach just off the line, about even with a bag at third, and Owen and Houston at double play depth. Galarraga off the line at first base, plays in to the edge of the grass.
The corners have to be alive for the possible bunt.
A bobble by Santovania. Carrion taking the pitch. 1-1, and Buck wants an appeal to see whether or not he bunted at the ball. Buck's convinced that the hitter attempted to bunt the ball.
The first base umpire Bob Davidson has already given the safe signal.
A look of exasperation on the face of Buck Rogers. Wallach is the key man on the bunt defense for the Expos. They're not charging hard at third. They are at first. A strike to carry on.
Relying on Langston to break off the mound quickly enough to get the ball over to third. That's why Wallach wasn't charging. But now with 2 strikes, the bunt probably out of order for the Mets. Carry on takes over the outside corner. See Langston bouncing off the mound, a former 2-time Gold Glover in the American League. Maybe that's the reason why the Expos chose that particular defense.
Here's the 1-2. In center field, Martinez right there. He's got it. Out number 1. McReynolds back to second, Tuffle to first, and the catcher Barry Lyons will come to the plate. Lyons had the biggest hit of the night last night for the New York Mets. After they scored 4 in the first, the Expos came back to make it 4-3 in the third, and in the bottom of the third with 2 outs and 2 on, Lyons singled to left field to drive in runs number 5 and 6, and the Mets were off and running to their 11-5 win.
Appears that Barry Lyons is going to become more and more important in the Mets scheme of things as they go into the final 2 months of the season. He and Mackie Sasser should share much of the catching duty.
Lyons hits a foul ball into the Expos dugout. Otis Nixon and Bryn Smith having to bail out. Lyons came into this game hitting at .254, still is, as a matter of fact. Sacrifice bunt his first time up. Lyons had been on the DL. Activated the 25th of July. He had a broken big toe. Hit by a foul tip off the bat of Pascual Perez in a ball game in Montreal.
See, the funny thing about that situation, he saw Nelson Santavena before the game. Mark Langston almost threw that pitch through Barry Lyons. And he saw Santavena was wearing those steel-tipped shoes. Look out, right underneath the elbow. And he tried some, and he didn't like them, and Santavena doesn't like the steel-tipped shoes either, but Santavena has gotten shin guards with that extra added protection over the shoes.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. Struck him out with nope, strike 2 with some high stuff. He looks like he's going to go up in the strike zone with Lyons.
Target is set inside. That pitch sailed up out of the strike zone. Lyons guessing fastball, got it, swung at it anyway. You really have to bring a hard thrower into a zone. You really have to concentrate at the plate in the strike zone.
2-2 pitch.
Ooh.
Mark Langston wanted that, so did Nelson Santavena.
That's a tough pitch to take with 2 strikes.
Buck Rogers was also upset, said something to Mark Hirschbeck. Hirschbeck just turned away.
You see that impatient look on Buck's face. What do we have to do? Throw it down the middle?
Two on, 1 out. Lyons up and Elster on deck. The Expos lead 2-1. Strike 3 called on Lyons. That's the 3rd strikeout for Mark Langston.
Well, this time he gets the call over the inside corner, and it's a no-doubter.
Mark Langston now has 170 strikeouts for the season, combining his American League totals and what he has done in the Expos uniform. Second only to Nolan Ryan with 190 strikeouts. Two outs. One strike on Elster, who fouled out to Santovania in the second. The Expos lost to a left-hander last night, Bob Ojeda. They look to their left-hander, Mark Langston, to win tonight. They'll face another left-hander tomorrow, Sid Fernandez, for the Mets. Elster chasing one. 0-2 the count. I think we can safely say, Ken, because of Langston's abilities, we see more hitters swing at pitches in the dirt with Mark Langston pitching than anyone else on the staff.
Well, they're thinking fastball, hard stuff, and when it's down low, they realize they have to start the bats, and you know, that's very reminiscent of the sliders that Ron Guidry and Steve Carlton used to throw, hard sliders low and in. At least I remember them that way. And the very same thing. It's hard to lay off.
2 strikes on Elster. One and two.
Again, this type of pitching by Langston after a runner gets in scoring position reflects just how hard to hit he can be with runners in scoring position. A fly out to center field and then a strikeout, and now he has Elster in the hole at 1-2. All this after 2 successive walks to lead off the inning.
Two and two. If he gets Elster here, he's going to take a big step toward accomplishing what you alluded to earlier, quieting the crowd at Shea Stadium for a while.
Well, the cheering is not quite as loud now with 2 outs as it was with nobody out and 2 on.
Langston ready for the 2-2 pitch to Elster. That's all for the New York Mets in the 4th. That's the 4th strikeout for Mark Langston. The Mets strand a couple of runners. A 2-1 Expos lead. This is Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
The Gazette is proud to be a sponsor of the America's Cycling Grand Prix. The Gazette, we've got your summer covered.
Back at Shea Stadium in New York, Dave Van Horn along with Ken Singleton and Ron Roosh. The Expos are leading the New York Mets 2-1, 3 hits aside. Ken, it's almost as though Mark Langston says to himself, well, big boy, you got yourself into this mess. Now get yourself out of it.
You know, he's one of the few pitchers in the league or in all of baseball can reach out for that little bit extra and add a few miles an hour to that fastball and just put people away.
This telecast is authorized under rights granted by the Montreal Baseball Club solely for the entertainment of our viewing audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the description and pictures of this game without the express written consent of the Montreal Baseball Club Limited is prohibited. Mark Langston, the hitter. Kevin McReynolds under the pop fly, and Langston drove that ball a little further than thought it was going to go.
I think Darling, figuring he had the pitcher up here, I'll just get ahead of him with this pitch, and Langston was ready and came very close to riding one out of the ballpark. The Expo pitcher has yet to hit a home run this year, and I think the 2 top picks would be Mark Langston or Kevin Gross. Kevin, of course, will be pitching tomorrow afternoon here in New York.
Unfortunately, they're both going to miss Wrigley Field this coming week. The next stop for the Expos on this road trip after the afternoon game here tomorrow, the team will fly to Chicago and they'll play the Cubs under the lights Monday night, and then Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon games against Chicago to close out the homestand. If you weren't with us earlier, The Cubs won today. They beat the Pirates 4-2. And so they've closed to within a half game pending the outcome of this one. Dave Martinez 0 for 2. Bounced to third his first time up and lined back to the mound in the third inning. We're in the fifth. The Expos lead 2-1. Ron Darling gets a strike in there.
So in a sense, the Expos realize they're playing for that solo spot in first place tonight. Trying to keep the Cubs at bay.
Foul behind first. 1-2. Our next Expos telecast on CTV will be the Pittsburgh Pirates at Olympic Stadium 1 week from tonight. At Olympic Stadium, the Expos and the Buccos. Blue Jays and the Yankees tomorrow on CTV at the Sky Dome. Check your local listings for the time in your area.
Darling trying to drop that split finger. I guess it's more of a fork ball with him because he doesn't throw it quite as hard as a split finger fastball. It's more of an off-speed changeup type pitch. Be very effective when used in the right spot or thrown to the right spot at the right time.
Ball lofted out into center field. Looked like your approach shot to the green.
Mine are not nearly so accurate.
Second baseman, Jared Houston.
Martinez on with a hit. Hit number 4 for the Expos.
Now, this ball was not hit particularly well, maybe a little bit off the end of the bat. It seemed to be that off-speed fork ball that Darling has thrown so effectively, but well served. Dave Martinez, 13 steals on the year.
He has only been thrown out twice. He's on the move. Here's the throw by Lyons, and at second base, Martinez is out. David is not convinced.
Greg Bonan, the second base umpire. Now, I think the argument here is whether the tag is actually made by Miller at second base. Now, David Martinez trying to slide by the bag and then trying to reach out with the hand. I believe he was tagged on the way by.
A fly ball to left. McReynolds takes care of this, and an easy inning here for Ron Darling. The Expos go in the fifth. Midway in the inning, 2-1 Montreal. This is Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
Help strike out ileitis and colitis. These bowel diseases afflict over 200,000 Canadians. Your pledge will provide research funds to help find the cure for colitis and Crohn's disease.
They're the numbers to call where you can help out. One of the many corporate contributors to the strikeout program, Weston Bakeries. Ron Darling struck out in the second. He'll be followed by Keith Miller and Juan Samuel as the Mets bat in the fifth inning. Big crowd on a hot night at Shea. Fouled off by Darling. Expos 6-4 on the Mets. They've only won 1 of 4 here at Shea Stadium so far this year.
Langston pitching to Ron Darling. Now, one thing different you might notice about Darling, he's wearing a different number tonight. He's discarded his number 12 for whatever reason we don't know, and tonight he's decided to wear number 15. Might be more than that story than we're aware of. Of course, when I started out with the Mets, that number 15 belonged to catcher Jerry Grody, one of the better defensive catchers in the National League. Back in
Both Jerry Grody and Duffy Dyer really got a lot of credit for the way they handled those great young New York Mets staffs of the late 60s, early 70s.
They had some good pitchers to work with. You go back to Tom Seaver, Kuzma, Jerry Kuzma, Gary Gentry, Nolan Ryan, Tug McGraw.
2-2 the count on Ron Darling. Maybe Ron Darling didn't want to go head-to-head against another pitcher who wears his number.
So far, he's worked Langston to a 3-2 count.
I'm going to just try to think of some reason why he would want to change his number now. The fact that he's lost 2 in a row.
Well, I had the same number throughout my career, as has Buck Rogers, has always won number 37.
That's all for Ron Darling. Number 5 in the strikeout department for Mark Langston. 3 in a row going back to the last inning.
This is what I call a hope pitch. As a hitter, you hope the umpire does not call it a strike. As you see, it was over the inside corner.
1 out, Miller up. He's fouled out to the catcher and flied out to the center fielder. We've got Miller playing right now. Davy Johnson going with the hot hand at the plate. Greg Jeffries in a slump. Davy Johnson saying he still considers Jeffries as the second baseman of the 90s. So they're still looking for him, but you know that he's going to have to battle his way back in, particularly if Miller continues to hit. He popped this up, and Galarraga wants it. 2 down. And Juan Samuel will come to the plate. He has grounded out twice. Former Phillies second baseman. Samuel tonight playing in his 38th New York Met game.
He's had some great numbers over the years offensively for the Phillies, and now the Mets hope he can continue to do that here in a Mets uniform. Recall he was obtained that deal that sent Len Dykstra and Roger McDowell down south to Philadelphia. That's hoping that Samuel can ignite their offense. And at first, when he came over here, was used as the leadoff hitter. Now he's dropped back to the second slot, and I think that would help him. You know, when you're batting leadoff, you have a tendency to think about get on base. Samuel is not that type of hitter. He's a free swinger.
And Mark Langston has retired him his first 3 times up, and he gets the New York Mets in order in the 5th. End of 5-2-1 Expos. This is Labatt Expos baseball on CTV. After 5 innings of play, the Expos lead the Mets 2-1. Mark Langston over Ron Darling. There you see both the pitching lines. Mark with 5 strikeouts, Darling with 2, and Mark with a 2-1 lead. Hubie Brooks leading off the 6th, to be followed by Tim Raines and Tim Wallach. Brooks is 1 for 2 on the night. Two balls, no strikes. In shallow right, Carry On under it. Playing tonight for Darryl Strawberry, who's being rested. Carry On making his 7th start in right field and his 10th start overall in this 1989 season.
It's very interesting to watch the defense, how they set up when Hubie Brooks comes up to hit. Everybody is straight away, the infielders and the outfielders. It shows the ability of Hubie Brooks to hit the ball all over the field. There's the defense for Tim Raines.
He tripled leading off the second and scored the first of the 2 Expos runs in that inning. And in the game. Ball 1 to Raines. Tim Wallach on deck. Now, I don't know who that sign was for above the Expos dugout. Hi, Tim. I guess it works for both Raines and Wallach. (3-0) the count on Tim Raines.
Certainly on the Expos, when you say hi, Tim, you better be specific. You might be talking about Tim Burke as well. Any way you look at it, you're calling a quality ball player.
He might be in an RBI slump, as I mentioned earlier, but he has not been kept off the base paths, driving McReynolds way back onto the track. Raines maintains a very high on-base percentage. Out here on a drive the other way.
Pitch out over the plate, some pretty good hitting, but Kevin McReynolds, a former center fielder with the San Diego Padres before coming over to New York, covers a lot of ground out in left field. One of the better fielding left fielders in the league, as well as one of the best offensive players. Nice running catch. He's so smooth out there in the outfield. It appears that he's not covering much ground, but he does get to him.
Here's Tim Wallach with 2 outs. Picked up his 55th RBI of the season when he delivered a sacrifice fly in the second after the Raines triple. He was called out on strikes in the 4th. Skies one here on the infield, and the first baseman Tupple is in. The Expos go quickly in the 6th. Midway in the inning, they lead 2-1. This is Labatt. Expos baseball on CTV.
History, August 3rd, 1948. Satchel Paige makes his major league pitching debut at the age of 42 for the Cleveland Indians. Paige in his rookie year was 6-1 as the Indians won the American League pennant. In Page's first 3 starts in the majors, he drew a total of 200,000 fans.
Howard Johnson will lead off the 6th inning for the New York Mets, then McReynolds and Tupple. Mark Langston leads 2-1. Buck Rogers said coming into this series, Ken Singleton, that it's a crucial series for the Mets. It's a very important series for the Expos. There's no doubt about the fact that this is a big ball game for Mark Langston and for the Expos.
I think it's kind of a role reversal coming into last season. The Expos were in the crucial standpoint coming into Shea Stadium, a 4-game series. They won the first 2, then they lost the last 2 and didn't gain anything. The Mets almost have to try and gain something during this series with the Expos.
The New York Mets tonight come in here with 55 wins. Last year they had 64 wins at this time and led the East by 4 games. They come in here tonight and they are 6 games behind the Expos. Into center field. Here comes Martinez. Here comes Brooks, and Brooks into right center to make the play, and that's all for Hojo. Fans, the Labatt player of the game for the New York Mets will receive a Weed Eater, Canada's #1 trimmers for convenience in lawn and garden care, available in gas or electric models. Weed Eaters, trimmers, and blowers. Kevin McReynolds homered in the 2nd, walked in the 4th. Ball 1. Cubs won today. They beat Pittsburgh 4-2. Sean Dunston and Jerome Walton had RBI singles in the 9th inning to key a 3-run rally for the Cubs. The Chicago Ball Club has won 12 out of the last 15 to put the pressure on. 1-2 on McReynolds. Steve Wilson from BC picked up the win. He is 5-0. He pitched 2 scoreless innings. Les Lancaster the save. Bill Landrum took the loss for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here's the 1-2. Ball in the dirt. We told you that Mitch Williams was hit on the head by a line drive, suffered a contusion above his left eye. And they say his status is day to day, which means they'll see how he feels tomorrow.
Just before Langston delivered that last pitch, he stumbled a bit on the mound. That's why it was in the dirt.
A ground ball here for Owen. 2 out in the 6th inning. Ken, in a way, this is following the pattern of his last start.
Langston in Pittsburgh had a few rough innings in the first part of the ball game. Gave up a couple of runs, but once he got used to the mound, got very calm. Everything was shut down. He went on to win that ball game 4-2. Atlanta and Cincinnati tied it 1-1 in the 4th. So here tonight, he gives up the home run to McReynolds early in the game. He walked a few hitters early, but this is about the same time of game when he really started to turn it on. He senses the victory.
Tuffle has walked twice. Ball 1, no strikes. Mark Langston has 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. He issued back-to-back walks to McReynolds and Tuffle in the 4th inning, and since that time has retired 8 in a row.
The danger zone with Tim Tuffle at the plate is the high fastball. Good high fastball hitter. You have to concentrate on keeping the ball down. So Santabenia putting his glove down on the ground almost for the target. Don't want to hang a high breaking ball to Tuffle.
A smash past Langston and a base hit for Tuffle. So the Mets once again have the tying run at first base, this time with 2 out in the 6th inning, and Mark Carrion coming to the plate.
Now once Tuffle got ahead on the count 2-1, he can afford to look for one pitch, and it's a fastball. He got it, sends it back to the middle for the base hit. Now when you're behind on the count 1-2, you're not quite as sure that that heat is coming.
Carrion singled back in the 2nd, line to center field in the 4th. Ball 1 and no strikes. Carrion up for just a few ball games in 87 and 88 with the Mets. 1-1 the count.
See Tuffle carrying something in his left hand. That's it. I believe he's doing that to cushion the blow in case he has to slide. Not the right hand, in his left hand. There it is. Carrying his batting glove. Some base runners have a tendency when they slide to jam that hand in the ground for balance. That's how you get sprained wrists and jam fingers.
Tuffle at first with 2 outs. Carrion up there. Mark Carrion, the son of former Major League catcher Camilo Carrion. Camilo spent 8 years in the big leagues. A looping single to left field. On his way to third, Tuffle, and he'll make it. Carrion with a soft liner to left field for a base hit. And Tuffle sized the play up, seeing Raines playing deep. And he took third base on the play, so a 2-out problem in the 6th.
Tuffle with some good base running. Raines playing fairly deep, doesn't want a ball over his head. And Tuffle's able to go first to third on the looper in the left field.
So Barry Lyons, here's his big hit last night.
Ball down the line, drove in some runs for the Mets. Couple of runs, Howard Johnson scoring, Darryl Strawberry following. Lyons was thrown out at second trying for the double.
2 outs. Lyons has sacrificed and been called out on strikes. Ball 1. That hit by Carrion was like a wake-up call for the fans.
Here they come again.
Down the left field line, Wallach looking near the seats, but the ball is about 5 or 6 rows back in there. Tuffle at third, Carrion at first base.
You know, so far tonight, I'd say that Langston's had 2 innings where he's really had to reach back for a little extra, and on a hot, humid night, the number of time that a pitcher has to make quality pitches can make it very difficult for a pitcher in the latter stages of the ball game. You go back to the 2nd inning when he gave up a home run, a walk, and a single. In the 4th, a couple of walks, and here in the 6th, 2 base hits.
Off the fist to the right side. Houston has it and throws to first. And Langston again pitches out of a jam, retiring Lyons. No runs, a couple of hits. And at the end of 6 at Shea, 2-1 Expos. You're watching Labatt Expos baseball on CTV.
Voici l'heure de la réponse à notre question du jour qui vous demandait ce soir quel joueur de l'équipe des Mets de 1969 évolue toujours dans les majeurs. On vous avait dit qu'il évolue encore aujourd'hui, mais dans la Ligue américaine. Vous deviez choisir Nolan Ryan. Il avait été un choix des Mets, un 8e, en 1965. Il a récolté ses premiers retraits au bâton dans l'uniforme des Mets en 1966. En 69, il participait à la Série mondiale comme releveur. Sa fiche en saison avait été de 6 victoires, 3 défaites et déjà il avait inscrit 92 retraits au bâton en 89 manches. Jamais depuis ce jour n'a-t-il lancé dans une autre série mondiale. Aujourd'hui, il évolue pour les Rangers du Texas et en 89, 20 ans après l'exploit des incroyables Mets, il terrorise toujours les frappeurs et pourrait devenir dans quelques semaines le premier joueur de l'histoire à compter 5000 retraits au bâton. Nolan Ryan, 42 ans, une légende bien vivante.
Et Nolan Ryan qui lance ce soir contre les Orioles de Baltimore n'a pas semblé avoir tellement de succès. Et là, Pascual Pérez, il est toujours dans l'abri ce soir après avoir été chassé hier.
Parce qu'il a lancé sa gomme à l'arbitre du 3e but, Greg Bonnet. Et Bob Davidson l'a vu faire, il l'a chassé du match.
Galarraga, Santovenia, Owen, début de la 7e pour les Expos contre Ron Darling. Baltimore qui a pris une avance de 5-0 sur le Texas après 4 manches. Nolan Ryan lance ce soir. Ceux qui ont oublié son âge, disons qu'il a joué à la même époque que Claude Raymond.
Ça a été ma dernière présence au bâton dans le baseball majeur contre lui pour déposer un coup de tenue sacrifice.
Réussi.
Oh oui.
Galarraga retrousse cette balle loin au centre. Samuel doit effectuer une longue course vers la piste d'avertissement. La balle tombe en lieu sûr et Galarraga est au 2e avec un double. C'était frappé avec beaucoup de puissance. Il y a 410 pieds du marbre en ligne droite au champ centre. Et cette balle a touché la clôture par-dessus la tête de Samuel.
Regardez la position des mains de Galarraga. La balle est en plein à la hauteur de la ceinture. Samuel pensait qu'il avait une chance de la capter. Tout à coup, il est allé à la clôture. Il a eu un bond à la hauteur de la poitrine. Il a remis au 2e but. Il n'y avait personne. La balle a failli toucher à Galarraga. J'ai l'impression que c'est l'arbitre ou Ron Darling qui lui a dit « Fais attention, la balle va te toucher ». Ça lui fait 20 coups de 2 buts cette saison.
Alors, Galarraga qui amorce cette 7e manche avec un double. En deuxième, Raines avait amorcé la manche avec un triple. Les Expos avaient soutiré 2 points. Galarraga amorce la manche avec un double et Santovenia y va d'une fausse balle sur le premier lancé de Darling.
Santovenia a tenté de faire son travail, il a tenté de pousser la balle au champ opposé. Malheureusement pour lui, les Expos, il a repoussé la balle dans les gradins.
Santovenia retiré sur une chandelle à l'Inter en deuxième. Au deuxième but en deuxième manche et à l'Inter en quatrième. 0-2. Les frappeurs plus opportunistes depuis quelque temps, Santovenia. Moins à l'extérieur, balle. Et on voit que Santovenia, tout de suite, par habitude, lève le bras pour faire signe à Galarraga de ne pas bouger. C'est ça, ce fameux protecteur.
Il y a reçu une fausse balle à Pittsburgh sur l'avant-bras. Et ça l'aide à plus serrer, alors ça l'ennuie moins le soutien pour lancer. C'est fait de caoutchouc.
Ça donne une meilleure retenue aux tendons et aux muscles de l'avant-bras.
Et ça le garde chaud, alors ça va guérir plus vite.
Ailleurs.
2-1 pour les Braves contre les Reds. Et Philadelphie 5, Saint-Louis 1 en troisième.
Saint-Louis et les Mets qui vont s'affronter ici la semaine prochaine après que les Mets soient allés à Philadelphie. Oh! C'était à l'extérieur, mais Santovenia a mordu. Deuxième prise, une balle, 2 prises.
C'était très, très loin à l'extérieur. Une balle glissante avec de la retenue.
Galarraga est installé au deuxième et Spike Owen au cercle d'attente. Il n'y a pas de retrait. Début de la 7e, Santovenia au bâton. Darling geste un petit coup d'œil derrière lui. Il y a Elster qui se tient pas tellement loin du but. Est-ce qu'on prépare le jeu de synchronisme? Et Bonnet dit qu'il est retiré.
Du côté des Expos, c'est un très, très mauvais jeu. Du côté des Mets, c'est un jeu extraordinaire. Elster qui se faufile, capte la balle, applique la balle sur le but et la main de Galarraga entre dans le gant. L'officiel du deuxième but, Greg Bonnet, a attendu pour voir si Elster avait gardé la balle dans son gant. Mais oui. Alors, Galarraga est effacé 1-6.
Avec la main de Galarraga dans le gant, ça c'est dit, il s'est fait prendre la main dans le sac, c'est sûr. Bonnet n'avait pas le choix. Ça change toute la situation et c'est 2 balles, 2 prises à Santovenia. Il y a maintenant un retrait. C'est pour les Mets certainement un jeu clé jusqu'à maintenant. J'irais même jusqu'à dire que jusqu'à un certain point, ça peut réparer l'erreur qui leur a coûté un point. À l'extérieur, compte complet.
Sur un jeu comme celui-là, le lanceur n'a pas de signal à donner au joueur d'arrêt-court et lui non plus. Mais dès qu'on voit que le joueur d'arrêt-court dépasse le coureur, tout ce que le lanceur a à faire, c'est de se retourner et lancer sur le but. Parce que le joueur d'arrêt-court a l'avantage, il est en mouvement, lui.
Et Galarraga ou Santovenia s'élance pour le retrait avec cette manifestation bruyante des, je pense, quelques 50 000 spectateurs ici.
Regardez bien le jeu de synchronisme. Galarraga semble nonchalant au deuxième. Regardez bien arriver Elster. Voilà, dès qu'il est tout près du coureur, lui est en course. Alors, si la balle est sur le but, le coureur est fini et c'est ce qui est arrivé avec Galarraga.
Le relais de Darling était parfait. La réaction d'Elster également. Et Galarraga s'est fait prendre la main dans le gant. 2 retraits. Darling qui se tire d'impasse. Avec Owen au bâton. Personne sur les sentiers. « 2-1 Expos, 5 coups sûrs de chaque côté. » À l'intérieur, balle.
Ron Darling ne lance pas avec la force qu'il lançait au tout début. Il se fie beaucoup plus sur sa balle cassante, là, et ses balles rapides, j'ai l'impression, doivent avoir perdu un 5-6 000 à l'heure.
À l'intérieur à nouveau et balle.
Parce que le double de Galarraga, c'était sur une balle rapide en plein centre. Et depuis ce temps, presque tous ses lancers ont été des balles cassantes à Santovenia et à Spike Owen.
Darling qui a une fiche de 8 victoires, 9 défaites, et il a subi la défaite dans 4 de ses 6 dernières décisions. Il y en avait de 3-2, 2 défaites de 3-2. Là, c'est une prise après 2 balles.
C'est son 23e départ. Il y a 2 matchs complets cette saison. Il se pourrait que ce soit sa dernière manche.
Balle bondissante au marbre vers Toffel qui remet à Darling et complète le retrait. Beau jeu de synchronisme de la part des deux. Aucun point, un coup sûr, aucune erreur. Aucun coureur laissé sur les sentiers pour les Expos en ce début de 7e manche. Mais après 6 manches et demie de jeu, les Expos ont toujours une avance de 2-1 sur les Mets.
Aujourd'hui, à notre page d'histoire, un rappel du tout premier commissaire du baseball majeur, Kenneth Landis, qui avait d'abord été nommé juge en 1905 par le président Theodore Roosevelt. Les propriétaires du baseball en 1919 lui avaient offert avec plein pouvoir un contrat de 7 ans à titre de commissaire. Surnommé le tsar par la presse de l'époque, à cause de ses allures dictatoriales, Kenneth Landis a sauvé le baseball du déshonneur à un moment critique. Il y a eu 68 ans cette semaine, il bannissait du baseball 8 joueurs des White Sox de Chicago qui avaient été accusés d'avoir truqué les matchs des séries mondiales de 1919.
Et de retour à Shea Stadium, les 46 175 spectateurs continuent à chanter la traditionnelle chanson du baseball.
Et Mark Langston, lui, est allé changer de chemise dans le vestiaire des Expos. On sait qu'il est rendu en 7e manche. Il a effectué passablement de lancers. Et c'est lui qui était le frappeur au cercle d'attente lorsque Spike Owen a effectué le dernier retrait. C'était un beau jeu de Tim Toffel qui aurait mis la balle à Ron Darling, et Darling a bien réagi aussi. Mais là, c'est Kevin Elster qui est au cercle d'attente. Ça devrait être Darling qui est 2e frappeur. Tantôt, ça bougeait dans la cour d'exercice des Mets, mais là, c'est tranquille. J'ai l'impression qu'on va peut-être laisser frapper Darling. Si Elster va sur les buts, oui, Darling vient de sortir.
Il vient de sortir de l'abri, mais ça peut dépendre. Jusqu'à maintenant, tout l'espoir qu'on va le laisser frapper. Ça peut changer rapidement. Darling revient à l'abri, alors que les instructeurs Perlozzo vers le 3e et Bill Robinson vers le 1er vont prendre place. Et voici Darling qui revient au cercle d'attente derrière Kevin Elster, qui sera le premier frappeur à se présenter contre Mark Langston dans cette fin de 7e.
On peut peut-être récapituler dans la Ligue américaine. Les Yankees ont eu raison des Blue Jays 5-4. Boston a vaincu Cleveland 10-2. Là, c'est les White Sox 3, Détroit 0 en 6e. Ensuite, Baltimore mène 5-0 contre Texas en 4e. Californie a pris les devants 1-0 contre Milwaukee, ils sont en 2e. Kansas City mène 4-0 contre Minnesota. Et plus tard, Oakland est à Seattle.
Kevin Elster se présente au marbre. Dans le rectangle du frappeur pour entreprendre cette fin de 7e manche. Avec Ron Darling agenouillé au cercle d'attente. Jusqu'à maintenant, tout l'espoir qu'il aura son tour au bâton et poursuivra son travail au monticule. Et après lui, ce sera Keith Miller. Prise, décision d'Urshback. On a annoncé l'assistance, 46 175 spectateurs. Je pensais qu'il y en aurait près de 50 000. À 4 000 proches, c'est pas si mal.
Raphaël Landestoy, depuis le banc des Expos, déplace la défensive. On sait que c'est Ron Hanson, à la hauteur de la galerie de la presse, qui est en communication avec lui.
Balle frappée en lieu sûr dans la gauche. Elster amorce cette manche en se rendant au premier.
Ron Darling a 3 coups retenus sacrifice cette saison. Alors là, il va falloir surveiller la défensive des Expos. Le coup retenu s'en vient. Warlock, lui, est déjà sur le gazon de l'avant-champ.
Darling a jeté, lui, un très long regard vers Sam Perlozzo, mais je pense que la lecture du signal était claire. Tout le monde s'y attend. Voilà qui est fait, c'est all-in cette fois. Elster était rendu au deuxième, lui. Et cette foule partisane des Mets qui étourdit Rogers, Sparks et un peu tout le monde.
Mais Camille, il ne faut pas que le coureur de Galarraga décolle trop vite du premier but, là.
Darling a chassé des mouches devant lui. 2-1 Expo, fin de la 7e. Et Langston a déjà surpris Howard Johnson au premier but. Jusqu'ici dans le match, ce qui commande plus de respect de la part de Elster. Elster ne peut certainement pas prendre une avance aussi intéressante qu'il l'aimerait.
Mais tout de même, il est assez facile de voler contre Langston parce qu'il lève sa jambe très haut.
Deuxième fausse balle pour Darling qui n'est pas content.
Alors, Darling, on va lui donner une troisième chance de déposer l'amorti sacrifice. Là, il vient d'ajuster son casque protecteur. Il est en furie contre lui. Mais l'instructeur du troisième but, Perlozzo, lui donne le signal du coup de retenu à nouveau.
Quand on dit que Langston lève sa jambe assez haut, c'est vrai. C'est moins haut lorsqu'il y a un coureur sur les sentiers, mais c'est encore très haut.
Très haut.
Et là, c'est réussi cette fois, c'est Langston. Oh! Il aurait voulu faire un jeu au deuxième, mais ça l'a nuit dans sa concentration pour capter la balle. Mais heureusement, il a fait le relais à temps Houston au premier.
Il n'y a rien de mal là-dedans parce que Langston avait une idée en tête, c'était le deuxième but. Il faut toujours passer deuxième but parce qu'on peut récupérer ensuite. Là, il était placé, finalement, il a récupéré, même en échappant à la balle, il le remet au premier but. Alors, une très belle réaction. Et là, Elster voit la balle déposée. Lui, il s'en va au deuxième. Et il glisse juste au cas où la balle soit lancée vers le deuxième but.
Il n'y avait rien de mal dans ce que Langston a fait. Si la malchance n'avait pas été contre lui, il avait réussi à mieux agripper la balle. Il avait une chance au deuxième.
Ça, c'est le receveur qui doit le guider. Alors, Santovenia l'a sûrement guidé.
Une balle à Keith Miller. Avec Elster au deuxième, en vertu du sacrifice de Ron Darling. Très bas, deuxième balle.
Miller avec Tidewater, 266 de moyenne, un circuit et 15 points produits. Il avait 12 buts volés, alors il est rapide. Moi, je regarde UB Brooks au champ droit, je trouve qu'il joue un peu trop profondément. Parce que Miller ne peut pas frapper la balle loin au champ droit. À moins que ce soit un lancer haut.
Troisième balle. S'il y a une faiblesse chez Langston, c'est peut-être ses buts sur balle. Et je dis peut-être sous toute réserve.
C'est vrai parce qu'il fait tellement de gestes. Parce que vous lancez sur la pointe des pieds, c'est difficile de rester en équilibre. Alors, il est tellement fort, il a tellement des jambes fortes, des épaules fortes. C'est un bon athlète. Mais il est porté à donner des buts sur balle parce qu'il y a beaucoup de retraits sur des prises et également parce qu'il a un style pas mal hors de l'ordinaire.
Là, il a enregistré une première prise. Quelque chose qui l'importune.
La sueur. Il essaie de se trouver des endroits secs sur son uniforme.
3 balles, une prise, un retrait. Kevin Elster est au deuxième. Deuxième prise, même si Miller voulait s'en aller vers le premier. Fin de la 7e manche. Presque un match de baseball de série. L'élan et le retrait. Et là, Langston pourra respirer un peu plus à l'aise. Avec 2 retraits, mais Juan Samuel s'amène au bâton.
C'est le 6e retrait sur des prises. C'est la balle rapide. Regardez bien son élan. Sur la pointe des pieds, par-dessus. La balle qui entre à toute vitesse. Mais là, avec Samuel, c'est un bon frappeur de balle rapide. C'est un frappeur de balle rapide haute. Il aime la balle éloignée de lui, alors il faudrait surveiller le premier lancer.
Retiré 3 fois ce soir, Samuel, dont une fois sur un très beau jeu de Spike Owen. Oh! La jeune fille préposée aux fausses balles dans la ligne du 3e en a perdu son casque.
Alors, Santovenia et Langston, ils se sont allés d'après le livre contre Samuel, frappeur de balle rapide. Alors, on lui sert une bonne balle glissante. Il l'a frappé d'aplomb, mais la seule place où il pouvait la frapper, c'était hors ligne. Maintenant, on peut lui servir la balle rapide haute et à l'intérieur.
Aucune balle, une prise. Il y a 2 retraits. Une balle. C'est la 3e fois du match que le premier frappeur d'une manche chez les Mets se rend sur les buts. En 2e, non seulement s'était-il rendu sur les buts, mais il les avait tous contournés. C'était McReynolds. 2e balle. En 4e, McReynolds, encore une fois, avait soutiré un but sur balle. Tout comme Tim Toffel. Mais Langston avait tiré les marrons du feu par la suite. Et là, dans cette manche, Elster commence la manche en se rendant au premier. S'en va au 2e sur le sacrifice, mais maintenant, il y a 2 retraits. Et 3 balles, une prise à Juan Samuel. Et au cercle d'attente, les spectateurs le voient déjà. Howard Johnson. Johnson a un simple ce soir. Il pris à contre-pied au premier but par Langston tout de suite après. Prise, décision d'Hirschbeck. Samuel s'en allait vers le premier. Hurgebeck aime ça chaud. Mais sa zone des prises, Claude l'a dit, peut-être un peu large des fois.
La cible au coin extérieur, le lancer semblait un petit peu à l'extérieur.
Oui, mais
un petit peu à l'extérieur.
Il en a donné quelques-unes comme ça.
Sa cible est large, on l'a dit au début.
On l'a dit au début. Tu l'as dit, Claude. Jusqu'à maintenant, Hurgebeck te donne raison. 3 balles, 2 prises, 2 retraits. Fausse balle.
C'est plus difficile pour les arbitres de la Ligue nationale d'appeler des prises au coin extérieur parce que l'arbitre se place entre le receveur et le frappeur dans la Ligue nationale. Dans la Ligue américaine, il se place derrière, mais il y en a plusieurs qui commencent à se placer à l'intérieur comme le font les arbitres de la Ligue nationale. Regardez bien la position de l'officiel. C'est plus facile de juger à l'intérieur qu'à l'extérieur. Ses yeux sont plus près de la cible.
3 balles, 2 prises. 4e balle, il l'a perdu. Et Howard Johnson s'amène au bâton sous les applaudissements des 47 000 spectateurs plus.
4e but sur balle, Langston, et là, Larry Bernard et Buck Rogers vont utiliser le téléphone pour faire bouger dans l'enclos d'exercice des Expos. Voilà le téléphone, Larry Bernard. Et dans l'enclos, ça bouge.
Les New-Yorkais disaient aujourd'hui, ce Mark Langston, nouvelle vedette des Expos, ce soir, les Mets vont le battre et on pourra vous dire, on peut battre votre meilleur lanceur, on peut encore vous rejoindre en tête du classement. Et ce serait pas un déshonneur pour Langston que de perdre contre une bonne équipe. Et ce serait dur pour le moral, c'est dans la gauche, très haut, mais chez les spectateurs. Une longue prise pour Hojo. Avec devant lui, Kevin Elster au 2e et Juan Samuel au 1er.
Zane Smith dans l'enclos d'exercice des Expos.
Voyez où se situe Johnson dans la colonne des points produits. Il y a Kevin Mitchell qui est dans une classe à part, mais après ça, Johnson est là. 2-1 Expo fin de la 7e. 2 retraits. Une balle haut à l'extérieur.
Buck a lâché des graines de tournesol.
Oui. Sa façon de mâcher, pas la même. Une balle, une prise à Johnson. 2 retraits. 2 coureurs sur les sentiers. 2-1 Expos. Encore une longue prise pour Johnson.
Il n'y a pas de danger là. Il peut en frapper 25 s'il veut. Là, il peut en sortir du stade s'il veut. C'est des balles fausses à peu près à 100 pieds hors ligne. Ça, c'est la balle glissante de Langston à l'intérieur. Quand on était jeunes, nous, 2 fausses balles de suite hors ligne de même, t'étais mort. Frappeur suivant.
Ça fait longtemps, ça, Claude. Hein?
Oui. Quand on frappait à d'autres bords de la culture, on était mort aussi, alors.
Nous autres, on nous en donnait 6 à notre âge.
Ça ne devait pas être fort.
6 fausses balles hors ligne ont été morts. Chandelle derrière le marbre. Est-ce qu'il y a un jeu pour Santovenia? Vous avez vu sa physionomie, il n'y en avait pas.
On sait que dans le cas de Mark Langston, lorsqu'il est rendu à 120, 130 lancés, c'est à peu près son maximum. Il n'aime pas aller plus loin. Les Expos n'aiment pas le surtaxer en allant plus loin aussi. Ce soir, il fait très, très chaud. C'est très humide. Il a effectué beaucoup de lancers parce qu'il y a 6 retraits sur des prises, 4 buts sur balle. Je ne sais pas exactement à quel nombre de lancers il est rendu, mais il semble tirer vers la fin.
Il a changé de survêtement à l'entremanche, mais déjà, on a vu que c'était passablement détrempé. À nouveau, fausse balle derrière le marbre.
« 128 lancés, nous dit-on. Alors, il est dans sa zone là, où il ne faut pas aller bien plus loin.
Une balle, 2 prises à Howard Johnson. Il ajuste ses gants de frappeur, son casque. Il y a 2 retraits. Kevin Elster est au 2e. Juan Samuel est au 1er. C'est 2-1 Expo. Et la foule ici ne cesse de réagir et de manifester. C'est très bruyant au stade. Hors ligne à nouveau. Au 3e. C'est moins long, c'est plus près, mais c'est une autre fausse balle. Pendant que la jeune fille récupère la balle, que Johnson, à nouveau, se délie les muscles. Il y a Santovenia et Langston qui sont allés faire une petite conversation à mi-chemin entre le marbre et le monticule.
80 fois, Johnson a été retiré sur 3 prises cette saison. Là, il est dans une bonne séquence, mais on s'aperçoit qu'il manque un petit peu de vigueur dans les tirs de Mark.
Une balle, 2 prises. McReynolds est au cercle d'attente. Depuis un bon moment, parce que ça fait un bon moment que Johnson est au bâton. Balle retroussée 7 fois chez les spectateurs, mais dans la droite. Et avec toutes ces balles disparues, Ken Hirschbach demande une nouvelle série de balles aux jeunes préposés. Et Kevin McReynolds, lui, attend son tour. L'aura-t-il? L'aura-t-il pas? Parce qu'il y a déjà 2 retraits. Mais pour le contre Johnson, c'est Langston qui a, pour ainsi dire, l'avantage. Une seule balle, mais ça fait longtemps qu'il y a 2 prises.
C'est une bonne bataille. 2 bons. Johnson, c'est le meilleur frappeur des Mets cette année. Langston, c'est le meilleur frappeur, le meilleur lanceur des Expos, le meilleur du mois de juillet. Alors, c'est un bon duel.
Rappelons que Elster est au 2e et Samuel au 1er. Il y a 2 retraits, dont celui de Darling qui s'est sacrifié. Balle bondissante, c'est vers Galarraga qui la capte bien et touche le coussin pour le troisième retrait. Et en cette fin de septième pour les Mets, aucun point, un coup sûr, aucune erreur. Deux coureurs laissés sur les sentiers. Langston et les Expos respirent un peu plus à l'aise avec une avance de 2-1 après 7 manches complètes. Ce match vous parvient en direct de Shea Stadium à New York.
Ici Radio-Canada.
Si tu veux t'envoler vers un monde enchanté, je te montre le chemin. Si tu veux découvrir des histoires qui font rire, monte dans mon sous-marin. Fais-toi bien à Radio-Canada, des surprises et des joies, tu en trouveras tout plein. Oui, alors pars avec moi et surtout tiens-toi bien.
You, on s'en vient.
Début de la 8e manche, la soirée de travail de Mark Langston est terminée. Wallace Johnson viendra le remplacer au bâton. Il sera suivi de Dave Martinez et Jeff Houston. Une partie du premier tiers de l'ordre des frappeurs. Johnson est déjà au cercle d'attente, pendant que Darling complète ses lancers préparatoires.
Wallace Johnson a 6 coups sûrs en 38 et 6 points produits comme frappeur suppléant. Et Tim Burke va venir assurer la relève en 8e.
Johnson, hier, qui s'est permis le luxe, pour lui en tout cas, d'un long circuit. Long.
Son premier en carrière comme frappeur droitier.
Oui.
Son 4e de toute sa carrière.
C'est un circuit que Kevin McReynolds a bien failli attraper, tout juste de l'autre côté de la clôture du champ gauche.
Mais pour les Mets, ça ne veut absolument rien dire parce que c'était un gros score pour les Mets et un petit score pour les Expos.
C'est ça, c'était le 5e point des Expos, je pense. Alors, Wallace Johnson en relève à Mark Langston. Comme frappeur en ce début de 8e manche. Ron Darling toujours au monticule. Serre une prise à Johnson. Dave Martinez et Jeff Houston vont suivre au rectangle du frappeur. À l'intérieur, balle.
Pour ceux qui tiennent les statistiques, Langston en 7 manches a accordé 1 point sur le circuit de McReynolds, 5 coups sûrs, 4 buts sur balle, 6 retraits sur des prises.
Grosse balle dans la gauche. Dans le rectangle réservé aux photographes et un spectateur s'est permis d'y sauter pour aller la récupérer. Darling en est à sa 8e manche de travail. Les 2 points qu'il a donnés, ou des 2 points qu'il a donnés, un seul est mérité. Chez les spectateurs, cette fois, deuxième prise. On demeure le même, une balle, 2 prises.
Les décisions qui sont terminées par 1 point, les Mets sont 13 victoires, 23 défaites, les Expos 21 et 18.
Wallace se penche et Hirschbeck dit ses balles. 2 balles, 2 prises. Balle retroussée au champ droit devant Mark Carreon et Wallace Johnson s'arrête au premier.
Alors Wallace qui a frappé la balle 2 fois d'aplomb hier, frappe la balle en flèche dans l'allée au champ centre droit. On voit son élan, c'est une balle cassante en bas des genoux et un très bel élan, il a gardé la tête et les yeux sur la balle tout le long.
Comme un bon golfeur. Voici Dave Martinez qui s'amène au bâton pour la 4e fois ce soir. A réussi un simple en 5e. Frappé une flèche aux mains de Darling en 3e.
Il a 4 coups retenus sacrifice et Johnson veut rapprocher au 3e.
retient Johnson. Toffel demeure prêt. Johnson, comme Claude le disait, joue devant sa position habituelle au troisième. Coup retenu qui est dirigé vers Darling. Darling regarde au deuxième, n'a pas de temps, remet à Keith Miller qui couvrait le premier pour le retrait. Un 4.
Très bien
Sacrifice.
exécuté.
Martinez a fait son travail, Claude.
On voit le coup retenu, très bien amorti. Darling avait bien placé pour lancer au deuxième, mais Wallace Johnson avait très bien démarré du premier. Regardez bien. Il voit la balle, et là, il démarre, et là, il a hésité une fraction de seconde. Il dit, ouais, il lance pas au deuxième, je vais glisser au deuxième quand même.
Il a commencé à faire quelques pas de côté. Alors que
Randy
chez les Mets,
Myers.
il travaille également pour préparer la relève à Ron Darling. Dans ce bon match de baseball jusqu'à maintenant. 2-1 Expo. Début de la 8e. Houston frappe la balle à Toffel. Toffel qui vient toucher le coussin pour le deuxième retrait. Wallace Johnson s'est rendu, lui, au troisième sur le jeu.
Et maintenant, il y a été un temps, lorsqu'on voulait avoir un point avec 2 retraits, on demandait la présence de Hubie Brooks. Il est là, il a un coup sûr en 3 ce soir. Et Brooks n'a pas fait compter beaucoup de points depuis quelque temps. Et contre son ancienne équipe, il y en a 2 seulement cette saison. C'est un gros point, ça, celui qui est au troisième.
Il y a 2 retraits.
Et Brooks a un lanceur fatigué au monticule.
Oui.
Alors, il peut être plus patient.
2 fois, il a frappé la balle assez loin. Une fois dans la gauche, une fois dans la droite. Et il a eu un simple. Là, s'élance. C'était une balle sur les poignets, fausse balle.
Ce qu'on veut de Hubie, c'est une balle cognée en flèche, pas un ballon.
Il y a 2 retraits et Wallace Johnson est au troisième. Comme Claude le disait, Darling a légèrement ralenti, il est fatigué. À l'intérieur, balle, une prise. Il a lancé un très bon match ce soir.
Alors, 2 balles rapides à l'intérieur de suite. Est-ce que Darling va rester là ou s'il va donner des balles glissantes à l'extérieur? Ça va à l'extérieur.
Chez les spectateurs dans la droite, pas de jeu possible. Et pour notre deuxième match de suite, Claude, à Shea Stadium, il y a un élément qui m'intéresse et qui me fait plaisir. Les avions de la Guardia ne viennent pas nous bourdonner dans les oreilles à toutes les 2 minutes.
Oui, c'est pas mal plus relaxant de cette façon-là. Hubie ne porte pas de gants du tout, lui, un peu comme Wallach. Et là, sur son dernier élan, le bâton lui a échappé des mains, il lui a glissé des mains. Et là, Doug Harvey va aller voir Buck Rogers. Je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qui se passe de ce côté-là.
J'ai aucune idée, je n'ai pas pu voir qu'est-ce qui pouvait se passer. Rogers est très attentif en tout cas. Vraiment aucune idée de ce qui a pu se passer. Rogers en discute avec ses partenaires dans l'abri. Une balle, 2 prises à Hubie, 2 retraits. C'est haut, deuxième balle. Wallace est prêt pour sa course vers le marbre.
On a servi 4 balles rapides à Hubie, 3 à l'intérieur et 1 à l'extérieur. La balle rapide à l'extérieur, il a mal paru.
2 balles, 2 prises, 2 retraits. Johnson au troisième, Brooks au bâton, Rings au cercle d'attente. Grosse balle. Derrière le marbre. Un bon élan.
Alors, Darling n'a pas utilisé sa balle glissante encore contre Brooks dans cette présence.
Reigns au cercle d'attente aimerait bien avoir son tour dans cette manche. Ça voudrait dire que les Expos auraient ajouté un point.
Changement de vitesse.
Oh! Et ça, c'est sans équivoque une prise. Hubie a retiré au bâton.
Un changement de vitesse très bien placé. Et on a vu le bâton aller choir au moins 125 pieds de l'autre côté du marbre, par-dessus la tête des instructeurs et tout ça.
Alors pour les Expos, aucun point, un coup sûr, aucune erreur. Un coureur laissé sur les sentiers après 7 manches et demie de jeu. Montréal a toujours une avance de 2-1 sur les Mets. Ce match vous parvient en direct de New York. Bien de retour en direct à Shea Stadium. Je veux dire merci aux organisateurs des Jeux du Québec de Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu de nous prêter leur ambassadeur Claude Raymond pour les besoins du baseball. Claude, c'est tout un événement que les Jeux du Québec à Saint-Jean chez vous.
Oui, c'est un événement très spécial et les gens de Saint-Jean vont être des hôtes très spéciaux aussi.
J'en suis convaincu pour ceux qui aimeraient suivre les péripéties de leurs athlètes de quelque région qu'ils soient. Radio-Canada présente une émission spéciale dimanche de 13h à 14h dans le cadre de ces événements. Et ici à Shea Stadium, des changements chez les Expos en défense.
Otis Nixon est maintenant au champ centre à la place de Dave Martinez. Martinez s'en va au champ droit à la place de Hubie Brooks. Et au monticule, c'est le releveur numéro 1 des Expos, Burke, qui va pour un 24e match préservé. Il y a 6 victoires, 1 défaite, 50e présence, 2,51 moyenne de points mérités.
Reynolds, le premier frappeur, il va d'une prise chez les spectateurs dans la droite. Il sera suivi de Tim Toffel et Mark Carreon.
Contre les Mets cette saison, Burke a 2 matchs préservés, 1 victoire, pas de défaite. En carrière, 5 victoires, 1 défaite contre eux.
Son avance n'est que d'1 point. L'élan, deuxième prise. Burke rapidement prend l'avance.
Burke n'a donné que 11 buts sur balle de façon non intentionnelle cette saison et 41 retraits sur des prises.
C'est serré à la marque, c'est serré au niveau des coups sûrs, 6 de chaque côté. Balle retroussée dans la gauche en lieu sûr. Reigns n'a pas de chance, mais va récupérer cette balle pour empêcher McReynolds de se rendre au deuxième. McReynolds est de loin le héros de cette équipe ce soir.
McReynolds est un frappeur intelligent. Il ne faut pas faire d'erreur contre lui. Et là, Burke avait 2 prises. Il n'y avait pas de balle contre lui. Il a tenté de lancer à l'intérieur, mais la balle n'est pas allée exactement où il le voulait. La balle était sur le coin intérieur du marbre. McReynolds a frappé la balle d'aplomb.
Le coup sacrifice à Toffel. On a vu les signes de Sam Perlozzo, l'instructeur au 3e. Bill Robinson est dans son rectangle d'instructeur au premier. McReynolds au premier coussin. C'est la 4e fois qu'un frappeur des Mets amorce une manche en se rendant au premier. Tentative d'amortir et Galarraga fonçait, lui, alors que Santovenia a fait une feinte pour remettre au premier. C'est une prise contre Toffel. McReynolds observe lui aussi les signaux de Sam Perlozzo. Burke à sa première manche de travail en relève. Fausse balle, deuxième prise. Toffel s'en veut. Il a raté 2 chances.
Aucun coup retenu sacrifice cette saison. Sur le dernier lancé, son cœur était là, mais son corps n'était pas là. Ses fesses étaient dans l'abri des Expos. Mais il ne faut pas faire la même erreur que McReynolds. Aucune balle 2 prises, il faut faire un bon tir.
McReynolds est au premier. Il a amorcé cette 8e manche des Mets avec un simple dans la gauche. On ne l'oublie pas au premier.
Là, je doute qu'on donne le coup de tenue sacrifice à Toffel avec 2 prises. Mais Wallach se méfie. Il est très rapproché au 3e.
Aucune balle, 2 prises. 3e fausse balle sur l'amorti. Toffel s'en va à l'abri. Et écoutez cette foule ici. On a rappelé Mark Carreon à l'abri et Darryl Strawberry Bien frappé en l'air.
Darryl Strawberry comme frappeur suppléant, 0 en 4 cette saison. 1 point produit. Il est dangereux, tout le monde le sait. Et Strawberry, sa moyenne est à 229 avec 22 circuits.
Il y a un retrait. McReynolds est toujours au premier. Et avec un retrait, Strawberry n'est pas là pour un coup retenu. Surtout pas dans cette situation.
Il n'y aura pas de coup retenu là.
Non, non.
Il va y aller, lui, pour le Subway.
Oui, Manhattan.
Au champ droit.
Full s'anime.
Et là, il y a des lumières d'allumées dans le studio voisin. Alors, Warlick demande à l'officiel de faire éteindre des lumières.
Balle, décision de Hirschbeck. C'est un réseau radiophonique des Mets qui est là. Avec des fluorescents allumés. Balle retroussée dans l'allée du centre-gauche. Et frappe la clôture. Nixon la récupère. McReynolds contourne le troisième. Le relais à Owen. McReynolds est au marbre et Strawberry au deuxième. C'est l'égalité 2-2.
Alors, Strawberry, lui aussi, comme Tim Raines, peut frapper la balle avec beaucoup de force au champ gauche, même s'il est gaucher. Elle a lancé haut, éloigné de lui. Il peut tirer les bras, frapper la balle à 390 pieds du marbre contre la clôture. Et lorsque Nixon a remis la balle vers l'avant-champ, il était trop tard pour Spike Owen. Et là, la foule est debout pour applaudir Strawberry. Il y aura un frappeur suppléant maintenant pour le receveur Lions. C'est Mackie Sasser. Il y a 3 coups sûrs en 8 et 3 points produits comme frappeur suppléant.
Les Mets viennent de provoquer l'égalité avec ce double de Darryl Strawberry qui était sur le banc depuis le début du match. Et un autre qui était sur le banc depuis le début du match, Mackie Sasser. Ça mène au bâton. À la place de Barry Lyons. Per Galarraga, il n'a qu'un jeu touché au premier coussin pour le retrait sans aide, mais Strawberry s'est rendu jusqu'au troisième.
Sasser n'est pas content. Il a été déjoué par une balle qui avait de la retenue, un changement de vitesse. Mais il a frappé son roulant au troisième. Strawberry est en position de compter sur n'importe quoi maintenant.
Kevin Elster s'amène au bâton. Il a un simple à sa dernière présence au bâton en septième. C'était pour amorcer la manche. Mais il était au deuxième lorsque Langston a terminé sa manche. Sans donner de points. Et au cercle d'attente, Ron Darling est là. Pour l'instant, en tout cas. Strawberry au troisième. Balle frappée dans la gauche et en lieu sûr. Strawberry s'amène au marbre. Les Mets prennent l'avance. Elster veut étirer son simple en double. Et il est retiré sur le bon relais de Raines. Mais néanmoins, les Mets ont pris l'avance dans cette fin de huitième manche. Avec 2 points sur 3 coups sûrs. Il n'y a pas eu d'erreur et aucun coureur laissé sur les sentiers. Après 8 manches complètes, Mets 3, Expo 2. Ce match vous parvient en direct du stade Shea à New York. Des changements ici chez Stadium.
Les Mets ont un nouveau voltigeur de droite, c'est Darryl Strawberry qui vient de claquer un double pour égaler le pointage. Et ensuite, il a marqué sur le simple de Kevin Elster. Et Mackie Sasser est le receveur. Et Tim Burke, lui, c'est la troisième fois dans ses 3 derniers matchs qu'il voit l'adversaire niveler les chances ou prendre les devants pendant qu'il est au monticule. Et chaque fois, en 8e, c'était des tirs hauts qu'il a servi à McReynolds, à Strawberry et à Kevin Elster.
Et dans ce début de 9e manche, les espoirs des Expos reposent sur Rains, Wallach et Galarraga contre, toujours au monticule, Ron Darling. Rains a amorcé la deuxième avec un triple. Et il avait marqué sur le ballon sacrifice de Wallach le premier point du match. Ça, c'était en deuxième. Meilleure manche des Mets, la 8e. Première prise. Une balle, une prise à Rains.
Tim n'a pas aimé son dernier élan. Il est allé faire le tour du receveur, de l'officiel, du marbre pour revenir reprendre sa concentration. Il a tenté de pousser la balle au champ opposé.
Deuxième balle. Rains à la 6e a également poussé Kevin McReynolds très loin à la piste d'avertissement. Troisième balle. 3 balles, une prise.
Randy Myers a repris son activité au monticule d'exercice au champ droit pour les Mets. Le gaucher.
Prise, décision d'Hirschbeck. Parce que Rains avait vu autrement. C'est Hirschbeck qui a le dernier mot. Une poussée de 2 points des Mets en fin de 8e. Leur donne l'avance 3-2. Compte complet. C'est chez les spectateurs dans la gauche, à la hauteur du 3e coussin.
Ron Darling, à sa seule présence contre les Expos cette année, avait donné 6 points en 2 manches. Mais ce soir, seulement 6 coups sûrs en 8.
Légère différence. Balle retroussée dans le centre. Samuel doit reculer. Allonge le bras et capte la balle pour le retrait.
À 400 pieds, mais pas encore assez loin. Samuel était là.
Il y en a 410 pieds ici au centre. Rains retourne à l'abri et Tim Wallach s'installe au rectangle du frappeur pendant que Mackie Sasser rappelle à tout le monde qu'il y a un retrait. Prise, décision d'Hirschbeck.
Hirschbeck continue à avoir une zone des prises très large, surtout au coin extérieur.
Et la foule manifeste de plus en plus bruyamment et de plus en plus fréquemment. Aucune balle, une prise à Wallach. En hauteur, vers le premier coussin. Toffel recule, capte la balle hors ligne.
Alors, les Expos sont à un retrait de la barre de visite en première position parce que les Cubs ont déjà gagné. Alors, si les Expos perdent, ils vont avoir de la visite. Ex-aequo.
La diffusion de ce match est autorisée en vertu des droits de télévision exclusifs accordés par le club de baseball Montréal Limité et uniquement pour le bon plaisir de nos téléspectateurs. Toute reproduction totale ou partielle de cette émission est interdite sans le consentement écrit du club de baseball Montréal Limité. Et le dernier espoir pour l'instant, Andrés Galarraga. un moment d'inattention à se faire pardonner.
Sur les buts 3 fois ce soir.
Un but sur balle, un simple, un double. Après son double, a été surpris. Retrousse la balle à l'entrechamp, centre droit. Strawberry s'avance, capte la balle et met fin au match pour concrétiser ce retour des Mets qui viennent enlever une deuxième victoire consécutive aux meneurs de la division Est. Ils subissent du même coup une troisième défaite d'affilée, ce qui ne leur est pas arrivé depuis un bon moment. Une seule mauvaise manche pour le personnel des Expos, ce fut la 8e. Et la foule ici jubile.
Ça en été une difficile à avaler pour les Expos parce que lorsque Mark Langston est arrivé dans la zone des 130 lancés, il en a effectué 131. On a dû utiliser un releveur et Burke n'a pas fait son travail. Burke lance comme un lanceur qui est fatigué par les temps qui courent et c'est normal. Il y a déjà 50 présences au monticule depuis le début de l'année.
Et si on va certainement manifester encore pendant un bon moment, c'est l'habitude à Shea Stadium, puisque leurs Mets viennent de remporter une victoire de 3-2, en vous rappelant que ce match vous parvient en direct de Shea Stadium à New York. Eh bien, le temps de vous présenter maintenant les joueurs du match. Du côté des Expos, le joueur labatte du match est Mark Langston, qui reçoit un assortiment complet de produits de toilette de Remington. Et chez les Mets de New York, le choix du joueur labatte du match s'arrête sur Kevin McReynolds, qui mérite un appareil photo PrimaShot de Canon. Ce reportage vous parvient en direct du stade Shea à New York.
Des surgelés. Pas de problème que j'ai dit. Je vais y aller en Pontiac Grande Dame. Non, mais c'est vrai. La Grande Dame est faite pour la route. En plus, avec un moteur 16 soupapes, il n'y a pas de niaisage là. Tu mets le contact, puis vroom! Première chose que tu sais, t'es rendu. Fait que me voilà. Ça marche, Pontiac. C'est vrai, j'oubliais. Il faut que j'achète des heures.
Bien de retour en direct à Shea Stadium. Les spectateurs ont commencé à quitter le stade, heureux et joyeux. Ce n'était pas le cas jusqu'en fin de 8e manche, mais en fin de 8e, les Mets sont parvenus à vaincre Tim Burke. Ce que les partisans des Mets auraient aimé, je pense, ça aurait été de voir leur équipe matraquer Mark Langston, mais ils n'en ont pas été capables, et ça, c'est peut-être le point positif.
Oh, mais Camille, Mark Langston, c'est pas facile de frapper contre lui. Il a lancé un très bon match. Burke n'a pas fait son travail parce que lorsqu'on arrive en relève, il faut faire des bons lancers. Il y a eu 2 prises en partant contre Kevin McReynolds. Il a servi un tir à l'intérieur. Mais le joueur du match, c'est vraiment Langston parce qu'il a été très, très bon au monticule. Mais Buck Rogers et Larry Bernhardt ne veulent pas que Langston aille plus que 130 lancés. Lorsque Langston est arrivé à Montréal, il a dit « Moi, ma zone, c'est entre 120 et 130 lancés. Ensuite, je ne sais pas ce que je peux vous donner. » Vu qu'il faisait très, très chaud, c'est très humide. On n'a pas pris de chance, surtout qu'on a utilisé Wallace Johnson pour frapper à sa place. Il a cogné un coup sûr, mais UB Brooks a été retiré sur 3 prises. Lui n'a pas fait son travail encore une fois.
Absolument.
Les Expos avaient des chances de prendre les devants et d'ajouter à leur avance. Galarraga s'est fait retirer au 2e but après avoir cogné un double. Il s'est fait retirer sur un beau jeu de synchroniste de Helster et de Ron Darling. Ça, c'est peut-être un autre point tournant dans le match.
Et hier, c'est Howard Johnson qui avait fait mal aux Expos. Ce soir, Kevin McReynolds a été leur joueur du match, même si Ron Darling a lancé tout un match. McReynolds a été de toutes les sauces.
Depuis le début de sa carrière, McReynolds a fait mal aux Expos beaucoup plus souvent qu'Howard Johnson. Lorsqu'il était à San Diego, il était poison pour les Expos. Il l'est encore. Ce soir, il a frappé un circuit pour le premier point. Il a réussi, il a volé un but après avoir reçu un but sur balle. C'est lui qui a commencé le ralliement de la 8e avec un simple. Et c'est un coup sûr opportun parce que Burke avait 2 prises contre lui. Et McReynolds est assez intelligent pour chercher un lancer dans une zone quelconque ou une certaine sorte de lancer. Il l'a eu, il l'a frappé d'aplomb. Lorsque vous faites une erreur contre lui, il vous fait payer pour.
Et dans le cas de Kevin McReynolds, ajoutons que par surcroît, il a peut-être volé ce qui aurait pu être un simple à Tim Raines sur un beau jeu défensif.
en allant chercher une balle très loin sur la piste d'avertissement.
Bien, c'est un bon joueur, il n'y a pas de doute là. Kevin McReynolds, personne n'entend parler. L'année passée, c'est pas Strawberry, c'est pas Howard Johnson, c'est lui qui a été le meilleur joueur des Mets. Et si on se souvient, les Mets ont gagné le championnat. Et Kevin Elster se surpasse de match en match. Ce soir, il y a 2 coups sûrs. Et encore une fois, Burke lui a servi une balle en plein centre du map avec une boule de crème glacée dessus. Il a sauté dessus à pieds joints. Il a frappé un simple pour faire compter Darryl Strawberry qui avait frappé à la place de carry-on double. Alors, tous les lancers de Burke ont été hauts dans cette manche. Vous ne pouvez pas vous permettre, par une température chaude comme ça, une équipe aussi bonne que les Mets de New York, de vous en sauver. Vous pouvez vous en sauver contre les Braves d'Atlanta, vous pouvez vous en sauver peut-être contre les Padres de San Diego, lorsqu'ils ne frappent pas, ou les Phillies de Philadelphie, mais pas contre les équipes qui ont le potentiel de vous faire mal.
Et David Johnson a eu vraiment la main heureuse en sortant Darryl Strawberry du banc lorsque Burke s'est amené. Strawberry est devenu un héros soudain avec son double qui provoque l'égalité. Elster tente d'étirer son simple en double, mais déjà son travail était fait. Il avait donné l'avance et c'est tout ce dont Ron Darling avait besoin.
Strawberry est très dangereux. Lorsque vous avez un gars comme lui, vous ne pouvez pas lui permettre d'étirer les bras, surtout lorsque le lancer est haut. Là, la balle a été frappée à 400 pieds du map. Il aurait pu la sortir du pack parce qu'il est capable. Alors, Burke n'a pas vraiment fait son travail. C'est malheureux pour Langston et les Expos. Demain, c'est peut-être le match clé pour les Expos parce que les Cubs continuent de gagner.
Absolument. Il y a égalité actuellement en tête de la division Est entre les Cubs et les Expos. Demain, il y a un autre match. Il y a 6 victoires pour les Expos, 5 défaites dans la série contre les Mets. Il y en a une autre qui se termine demain. Et quant à nous, notre prochain reportage, ce sera dans le cadre du retour des Expos à Montréal, alors que les Pirates de Pittsburgh seront les visiteurs samedi soir prochain à compter de 19h30, heure de l'Est. À nouveau, la marque finale de Shea Stadium ce soir, Mets 3, Expos 2. Ici Camille Dubé au nom de toute l'équipe. À la prochaine, mesdames et messieurs.
Le baseball, la batte des Expos. Une présentation des agents et détaillants SO du Canada. Xerox Canada. Xerox, on répond à vos besoins. Et de Labatt 50, une bière soigneusement brassée par Labatt, la grande brasserie canadienne.
Ici, Radio-Canada.